I can't shake them. Okay. Wait for reinforcements!
Good morning, one and all. We're live. Welcome once again to Gaming Greats Part 2. This is, of course, a follow-up to one of our very first streams that we did on this channel a couple of years ago now. Obviously being a Gaming Greats Wishlist live stream for the Black Series. Because we're doing it again, we are, of course, joined once again by the legend that is The Forces with Jesse. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Good, very well. Thank you for having me back. I can't believe it's been 2 years. It's
mental, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. I just don't
crazy.
understand. Someone can sit fast forward.
I think the premise of this live stream really came about based on the fact that the last stream that we did, where we touched upon some of the recent Black Series reveals. Over the course of the last 2 years, a lot of the picks that we made in that original live stream have actually been made as figures, which is fantastic, but also now means that our lists need a little bit of revision. So that's what we're going to do today. It is obviously a little bit earlier than our usual streams. That is, of course, to accommodate Jesse and his presence from the future, being from down under. Thank you to everyone who is joining us. We'll jump into the chat in just a sec and see who we've got talking with us tonight or this morning. But before we do that, let's talk about the elephant in the room. New York Comic Con last night. We got a few tasty reveals, and we're not going to go into all of them on this stream just for time purposes and the fact that we've also got MCM Comic Con next week where we're going to see some more reveals. So it just makes sense to lump everything into one stream and do one later down the line. But there is one particular reveal that was shown to us last night that I just think would be doing a disservice if we didn't talk about it today. And it is, of course, Clone Commander Cody on what is it punched me in the heart when I heard people referring to this as a retro card pack because this is my childhood, so to hear this being referred to as retro was really painful. But
yeah, I had to pop a couple of ibuprofen just to
what a piece. Like holy hell. I mean, you know, anyone who's tuned into my channel for any amount of time knows that I'm a big Clone fanatic. Everyone who knows James knows that Clone Wars is his jam. But lads, how are we feeling about this one? What do we reckon?
Yes,
lovely.
Yes. As I was saying to you guys before we went live, I just want to get my old one and just toss it in the bin now. Like, I'm ready to replace it. Like it just, yeah.
He's the one character that deserved to be, at least at the time, in that card back in 3 3/4 inch, and to have at least now a version of it. Oh, dream come true.
Yeah.
And in the superior scale as well, aren't we, lucky boys?
It begins. We're only like 5 minutes in, but James is throwing the shade.
The Sixers strike back.
love to see it. I mean, we knew that this figure was coming because we had that factory leak from a few weeks ago. I think the guys over at Out of the Basement covered it quite extensively. What do we think in terms of a figure? I mean, packaging aside, it looks phenomenal carded, but as a figure, meet expectations. Disappointed? What are you guys' thoughts on it? Where do you stand? Are you happy with it? Could it have been better?
Oh, over the moon, man.
Yeah.
I didn't think they'd make the little hologram. So I'm chuffed about that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I think just that current clone body is just, it's perfect. Like, honestly, I think, there's not really much they need to do to improve it now, I don't think. Aside from maybe, giving the option of just a solid clone head sculpt as opposed to a removable helmet for all of them. But, Cody works and what they've been able to do with the helmets, and they're not sort of sitting loose or misshapen these days. So
yeah, I think this one as well, like the Phase 2 helmets for Vintage Collection as well, but especially for Black Series, they've always been a little bit hit and miss. Like, they never look 100% how they appeared on screen. They either look squished or they're trying to meet that fine line between animated and live action. Whereas this, so good. I think they nailed it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And again, just got to go back to it. Oh!
I think the fact that I want to get this both uncarded and carded just says everything. I don't tend to do it with Black Series, but this is the one. It needs to be done.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Literally the only thing I'm going to pick this apart for is that I wanted to see the big white text call out on the bubble. Like, if you remember the Revenge of the Sith figures that came out back then, if they came with an action feature or something like that, or even if they didn't, like, I remember, I think it was like Chewbacca had Wookiee Rage, and you squeezed his legs together and he threw his arms around. And then for figures that just came with accessories, like you'd get Shaq T and it would say Jedi Master. And I think like just having like Clone Commander or even
removable helmet.
Yeah, or 20th anniversary or something on the bubble there would have looked mint, but no, I mean, I can't.
Or the 66. Or the 66.
Oh, man, yeah. I just can't fault it, though. It's so damn good. It's so damn good. I'm so happy with it. And if this is a sign of things to come, lay it on me, Hasbro, and lay it on me thick, because I am here for it. We will... Like I said, I just wanted to glaze over the stuff from NYCC, just because we'll probably touch on it in a little bit more detail down the line. But generally speaking, out of everything that was revealed, any particular highlights for you guys? Any one thing that stood out?
Sabine and the Howler.
Yeah.
I do like 3 3/4 inch everybody.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you, to be fair. Like, that's the one thing that out of the lot, I mean, even the Black Series stuff that got revealed, it's one of those. I mean, we touched on it quite extensively in the last stream we did with Neil, but I don't know, I just don't have a connection to those Skeleton Crew characters yet, and the lineup of the main cast, the kids, it doesn't get my juices flowing maybe as much as I wish it would. I don't know. There's just something there that's not quite clicking for me. I'm sure the show's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it. But in terms of adding those figures to my shelves and dedicating space in my collection to those characters, I'm not quite convinced yet. But we'll see.
I just don't think the marketing has quite kicked off like it probably should have by now. I don't know. I sort of think back to Rebels when they were doing the little character spots before Rebels started back in 2014, and they do a little clip of, here's Kanan, here's Hera, and you get a little, I don't know, I think that kind of thing would be kind of cool, just to sort of give everyone a little bit of an introduction. But
yeah,
I think the marketing for Skeleton Crew has been really weird, because we've had that trailer drop, then out of nowhere they released that big £100 Lego set, which is a big high ticket item to drop on people when they've had no affiliations to the show. And yet we're still waiting on the figures. I don't know. I'm
going to say, because that Lego set's on shelves now, isn't it? In some areas.
I've seen it, £100. It's like, what?
It's so weird.
Something I've not seen yet.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I want them, but I'm not prepared to pay full RRP yet. If I see the show, I like the characters, then I'll get them. Wolfman, however...
Yes.
Pirate Wolf.
Captain Brutus.
Captain Brutus. I need him. He's one that's a defo get regardless. But
I love an Alien in Black Series, don't get me wrong. I love new Alien characters, full stop. And the fact that we've never seen that species in the 6-inch scale is peak. I love it. I do wish it was Vane up first, though. I wish we'd have seen him first. Just because I think in terms of a release, it would have made more sense because people are already familiar with him as a character if they've seen Mando. So to get him out on shelves to promote the show, it's like, oh, that's the guy from, and people can make that connection if they're a casual fan.
Yeah,
it's a nice little bridge. It would have been a nice little bridge. Yeah.
But I think the fact that we've got the full lineup of the kids, I think it's a pretty safe bet that the full lineup, not to disparage vintage collectors, but I think the full lineup of Skeleton Crew members are probably going to come to Black Series at some point. So I'm happy to wait for Vane, but. No, I mean, generally speaking, it was an all right panel. There wasn't anything there that really made me jump out and go, yes, I need that, like there was last time around when we got Shizor and company revealed. But no, it was a good showing. Interesting to see what gets revealed next week at MCM Comic Con London, which brings us to our next little segue. Like I said, next week, MCM Comic Con in London at the XL. I am going to be there in partnership with Hasbro at the event itself. Hasbro are going to have a booth this year. They're not doing a panel, but at the booth there's going to be a few cheeky reveals, and I'll be on hand at MCM to cover them. So make sure you are staying tuned to my channel and my Instagram and socials for Black Series coverage, and stay tuned to Tim over at Bosk's Bounty if you are in the market for vintage collection, because he'll be handling all the vintage collection reveals from MCM over on his socials as well. So once again, thanks to Hasbro for affording me the opportunity to attend. I'm really looking forward to it. Can't wait to see what gets revealed. Anything in particular that you guys are hoping to see?
Captain Rex, because I'm a fucking shill for the guy.
No, I'm in that, mate. No, I'm in that. What about you, Jesse? Anything in particular?
Oh, look, whatever happens, look, I'll just roll with it at the moment. It's just financially just trying to keep up with it all.
Preach, mate. Preach.
I feel like we're just in the middle of an absolute deluge of releases right now, and it's just, I'm quite happy just to sort of sit back and chill for the moment. So.
I feel you, mate. I feel you. There's just so much stuff coming out at the moment, and it's like, where do you even start? Like, what do you prioritize? What do you pick up first? Such a first world problem, but it's a struggle nonetheless. That leads us to our next segue. Speaking of financial ruin.
Bloody hell, don't get me started here this September.
We're official. We're official now, guys. We've got segues. We'll go around the table then, because I think you guys have got quite a few tasty bits to share. So, James, what have you been picking up, mate? What's new in your collection?
Ooh. Let's see if I can pick them up without destroying the place. So I've got the vintage collection, whatever you want to call it. Sabine and Chopper 2-pack, the accompaniment to the Ghost, whenever that... Oh, that's apparently shipping in December. Somebody from the panel said. So yay! I've got a mint set, which I've got in Star action figure acrylic display cases.
Oh!
Get yours now!
Which,
thought you did there.
You can't, because they're currently sold out. But I've been told they're coming back in soon, so yeah. I've got a loose set as well, but I'm not going to share the same thing twice. And because I'm a man of culture, I've picked up a little bit of reading material as well.
Oh, nice.
This is awesome. Like, I struggle to put into words. I'll try and give you a quick idea of some of the things that excited me about this. There is just illustrations upon illustrations of Clone Wars scenes from the movie and from various seasons, all done in live action style.
Oh man, that's cool.
It's so cool. It's only about 15 quid on Amazon.
Right.
To Amazon I go. Thank you very much.
Also, James, can you go to the page to trigger people? There's a
I
certain
can, Dan.
page.
I can.
Please do. Please do.
Hold on. It's actually got little pop-up sections as well.
Ooh.
Point to the section where the book hurt you.
Oh, there she is. There she is.
Look at that.
Read it. Let's read it. Read it and weep. Nah, I mean, you know, it's one of those things. I mean, Dan, you put a post on your Instagram story this week about this because I wasn't aware that that's where it came from. But I think your post about this on Instagram, mate, just covered it perfectly. Like, if you're upset about that, if you're upset that somebody feels better about themselves because they see themselves represented in media, then get a life and grow up and touch some grass because
100%.
there's just no, like, sort yourself out. You're an absolute dick.
If a group of fictional men can accept someone and how they identify, what's the problem? What's the problem?
And you can do it too. You
And
can
you
put your
can
big
do
boy
it
pants
too.
on and you can do it as well.
It's okay. It won't harm you, your manliness. Just put it to one side. It's alright. Touch some grass as
fiction.
well. It's
That's
fiction.
it. It's fiction. It's not real. It can't hurt you. And if you don't like it, you don't have to make a point about it on the internet. You can just move on and enjoy what you do enjoy.
There we go.
So, suck an egg. Dan, what have you picked up other than an angry mob?
Let's take a look, shall we? So this is I've been buying absolute shite recently, which is also going to be the name of a new segment I'm doing on my YouTube channel. Little plug there. That's in the works. I'm going to be doing videos on like weird Star Wars shit, and that's literally the name of the series. So I've been picking up lots of weird stuff, including this, which is a Micro Machines playset of Luke's macro binoculars. You press button and it open up, and it turns into little assault station. It's got all these fun little features. You lift that up. Oh look! Oh, little fella lifts up as well. Hey, tons of hours of fun. And then you've got a Y wing for why does this exist? It's so weird. I love it. But nothing can compare to the weirdness of this little gem I picked up for a handsome sum of £10.
Brilliant.
Nice.
It is the Senate.
It is the set. Well, that's not the Senate. I've got so many things to say about this bloody thing.
It is the Senate. It's got the Senate.
The outside building bloody isn't. That isn't.
Oh yeah, no.
But that is.
The interior decor.
Listen, Steve. I'm a real Star Wars fan. I've done my in-depth research. No. But this is so fucking weird. Who thought that kids would want to play with the Senate?
I had that when I was a kid as well. I was literally a
Did you?
10-year-old with that set, yeah.
Well, yeah.
And I can't remember how I felt about it at the time, but...
How did you feel about it? What?
I don't know. It was
Tell
just
me,
kind
Steve.
of there.
It was just
kind of
that's
there.
it. It was just a little thing, a little setting, and
Yeah.
I can't
Well
wait.
building.
World building. That's it. That's what we want from Star Wars, and that's what we're going to discuss in our little video. What else have I bought? I bought a Star Wars fingerboard, which I haven't got on my hands at the minute. I've got some other stuff coming in the mail, but then I've got so much stuff come. I got some Black Series. Enoch and his Night Trooper.
Juicy.
Right then, okay. And then we've got just today. We've got a Super Battle Droid because I needed another. I'll probably get another because I want to convert it into the one from Republic Commando at some point, maybe, if I can find it. But he comes with a little sheet. Bam, bam, bam. And you got this one. Everyone's the last figure from Acolyte. or one of the last figures that we may see. Osha, even though I know we're getting Kalnaka, but come on now.
That's me, mate.
Is it May? I get them mixed up because they look. It's been a while. I'm very sorry, but
I thought that's what you were getting at. I thought you were making a pun when you said it might be one of the last figures that we may see.
Well, now you're making me look like a cunt, so thank you for that. I come across as one of those like potato-headed Star Wars fans that isn't in unlike things. But no, I'm really pleased with this one because it's really fucking cool. I like the ornateness. I'm going to do a review on it. So this one's May. Is that right? I've got the box in front of me as well. Why didn't I just look at that?
Because you're a potato head.
Oh, yeah, well, you know, it has been said. What else have I got? Oh, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Bloody hell. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
That's all right, mate.
What about you, Jesse? I don't think you can. You've got a tough act to follow there, pal.
Oh, tell me about it. I don't know. It's more been about quantity over the last couple of weeks. I don't know. It's like I said, it's just been an absolute deluge of shit that's come in. The Black Series Stat came in. The Darth Maul Speeder. We got the Shriek Hawk. The first of the single Shriek Hawks.
Oh.
Yeah,
See, I'm really conflicted on that one because I said in the last stream that I'm trying to dedicate space in my Black Series collection now to figures that aren't being made in 3 3/4 inch. Just because the space on my Mando shelf is so damn tight. So the fact that we're getting the vintage collection Shriek Hawks as well, I'm like, oh, do I just invest in the TVC ones and have them represented on that shelf instead? But those figures look too cool to pass up. Yeah, especially those two.
I think
they are nice.
They look in hand so much better than the pictures, and I don't know why.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I found that too. Just having them in hand and
that female Shriek Hawk looks quality.
Yeah, I just like the sort of the scarf around the neck, and it's just point of difference. What else? IG-12.
Oh
yeah.
No squeezy.
No squeezy.
Which is really cool.
Yes.
Dedra and Cassian.
Yes.
Oh, stop it! You're outdoing me now. You've outdone me. Oh.
No, Cassian is. Yeah.
Dedra's head sculpt looks on point, man. That looks so good.
And Thrawny Boy.
Oh no! Come on now.
Which is just beautiful. And then also got the these two boys.
Oh,
nice.
That's mint.
Nice.
Yeah, just waiting for the smoke of the white now and the Imperial Mandalorians. Like,
I've got to say, you've got that Night Trooper posed to a T as well. That looked really, really cool. I can't wait to get that figure on the shelf. Just like
it comes with the crappy E11. I just like, he needs to be in like a zombie.
Yeah.
Zombie pose.
That looks mint. That looks so good.
And I hope we get a couple more. Just enough that you can mix and match a few.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like, just give us a feedback on them, that'll be fine.
Yeah, that's it, innit? Nice pickups, guys. Well, I've been a little bit quiet on the pickups front since we just touched on the Night Troopers in the spirit of the spooky season, and because it's a zombie. Forgot to touch on it in the last stream we did when Neil mentioned picking up the electronic Captain Rex figure from the Disney store. I got that myself as well, but I also got this little chap. Got the R5 Zomb, the little Halloween droid from the Disney store, which I'm liking very much. I'm off to Disneyland Paris next week, actually, and I'm planning a big droid factory haul, as well as some other bits and pieces, and then ultimately, I'm hoping to put together a bit of a Disney Parks and weird Star Wars shit display in the collection. So that one's going to go on there quite nicely. And then if you follow me on Instagram, then you'll know last week nipped into Dan's former employer And they're a bit of a. I mean, they are primarily a model railway shop, but there's a little offshot that sells secondhand, vintage, and classic toys. And they just got an absolute deluge of old Saga collection, sort of 2002 to 2004 figures in. And I'm not very happy with your friend, Mr. Daniel East 1000, because they picked up Boba Fett, which I wanted.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get it, so I had to settle for his dad. But I'm just after some more card back representation in the collection, since a lot of my cards that I had in the collection years ago were all damaged by dust and sunlight, so it's time to rebuild. And I thought, you know what, it's time to add some other Fett family members to the Fett Focus shelf. So the card on this one is immaculate. It only set me back £4 English, which I think was an absolute steal. And I love that blue card with the gold logo and stuff. I just think it looks absolutely sick. Hoping that the Revenge of the Sith cards that we're getting in the Black Series are a sign of things to come, and that we get more stuff like this in Black Series upscaled. But it's just fun, you know. I saw it. I mean, I've had this figure numerous times over the years, but never had a nice carded sample. So I just thought, you know what, stick that in the collection, get it on the Fett shelf, and it looks very, very nice indeed. So yeah, no Black Series pickups from me, which is shocking.
That's shocking, but it's very fetching. Very fetching.
Oh, I see what you did there, sir. I see what you did there. Very good. Very good indeed. Well, we've got quite a few guys in the chat, so we'll just go through some of the comments, and then we'll dive into the meat and the two veg of this stream. We've got David, fellow Northerner once again. 10:30 a.m. on a Saturday. I've turned into a pumpkin, mate. I've turned into a zombie. So don't worry about it. I was up at 6 a.m. this morning, so don't worry. You're absolutely fine. We've got Jesse's pal Brian, Metal Jedi. Good morning / evening, fellas. This is going to be an awesome start to my much-needed vacation. Well, I hope so, Brian. I really do. Thank you for joining us. We've got Sea Lion in the chat as well. Greetings, exalted ones. Can only stay for a while, as I'm going to see the Wild Robot in a while. Can't wait to play this back afterwards, though. Well, I hope it's worth your time, mate. I really do. The movie, not this stream, naturally. We have... Who else do we have in the chat? Oh, my mouse won't work. There we go. We have Matthew from Twin Sons Collecting over on Instagram. Enjoyed NYCC and looking forward to listening to the discussion. Thank you very much, Matthew. We've also got Rish, RSH, 1991. Good morning, fellas.
Hey,
hope the stream goes well.
My mate, Raj.
Sadly can't watch too much as I'm working. You're all a bunch of losers. Metal Jedi, Cody looks so sick. Love that they included the Sidious hologram. Absolutely, mate. That was the one requirement, I think, of that figure, that it came with that, and Hasbro have delivered. Matthew, once again, seeing as it's Walmart exclusive, already stressed for USA collectors based on how Walmart likes to use envelopes. Yeah, that's not going to be too good for them. Scary times if you're a carded collector. Instantly pre-ordered Cody, even though I try not to dabble in 6-inch. What have I done? Oh, do you know what, Sea Lion? Get out. And we also have Pep Rioter. Hello, Englanders. The world is watching and we love you. Wish you the strength to overcome your troubles. Okay, yeah, sure. That works for me.
Thank you.
Thanks, mate. Yeah. So let's dive into the meat and bones, and let's talk about what we are here for, and that is gaming greats. So, like I said, it's been 2 years, 2 whole years, near enough to the date since the four of us got together and pitched our first ideas for the Gaming Greats subline of the Black Series. Some of us went with some slightly left field picks. I think Bok comes to mind. The laugh we all shared about Naked Bib Fortuna. Yeah, basically, the reason that we've got together for this stream is because during the Hasbro PulseCon stream that happened don't know whether it was last month or the month before, we got Dagon Gera. I've probably butchered that name again. From Jedi Survivor revealed as part of the Gaming Greats line, and like I said at the start of the stream, a lot of the figures that we pitched to be made back in that original show have actually made it to the line. So we've got Prince Shizo, we've got Starkiller now, and I think it's about time we updated the list. So we're going to do this as sort of a roundtable forum, like we always do. We've each made 3 picks, and we'll each list off 1 pick at a time, go around the table, and I think this is going to be quite fun and educational, because I think there's some picks in here that some of us don't really know or aren't that familiar with, and there are some picks in here that I just think are well overdue for the Black Series. So we'll start with our guest of honor, our 4th talking head of the day, and we'll start with you, Jesse. Your first pick, we have... Talk us through it, mate. Starkiller.
Yeah, Starkiller from the arena of the Force Unleashed 2. Yeah, this is, I still would love to see this in any scale, really. But yeah, Black Series, where it's at, they've done an outstanding job on the Force Unleashed 1 version of Starkiller. And I don't know, there's just something iconic about the 2 lightsabers. I don't know. That era when that game came out was just... I don't know, it's a memorable time back in my days as a Star Wars fan. It's an era of collecting that I look upon fondly, and the amount of hours I sunk into that game. Arguably not the greatest of games. The story was definitely lacking, but the characters and the outfits for Starkiller were absolutely unreal. The combat was a lot of fun, swinging those 2 lightsaber blades around. And yeah, I don't know. I just really like that. Just sort of, well, that was from the arena, which again, I think there were some slight differences in the outfit, but yeah, that's sort of my pick. I don't really have much else to say about it except I just want to.
I think it's like you said, Hasbro did such an amazing job with Starkiller from the first Force Unleashed game in the Black Series. Like, that is, for me, one of the best figures that Black Series have ever put out. And I think this would be such a perfect accompaniment to that. Like, I think because the first figure as well was primarily decked out in all black, like this one's got a little bit more of a palette going on, and like you said, with the 2 blue lightsabers and stuff, it just adds that different look to the character. I love this pick, mate. If this figure, and I think like if they based it on this image as well, where you've got like the lightning around his arms and stuff, I think hell, do another deluxe playset box set thing and charge 100 quid for it, and stick a Rancor head in it or something,
Yeah,
like,
just the way they're making figures now too. Just the way they're making figures, like they've almost got this as a base. Like it doesn't need a new head. Chuck another screaming head in there.
That's it.
Like I said, the way they're making figures, like they've all got that sort of base, sort of standard figure, and then the outfits are sort of almost that sort of softer plastic, that softer, almost rubber sort of feel that's like a slip over. So it wouldn't need a great deal of work to do, like the shirt, the sort of the guard over the shoulder, the belts, and all that kind of thing. It's I don't know whether it would be too difficult. So,
I mean, looking at that image, I mean, they could quite easily just recycle the lower body of the first Starkiller and just stick a new torso, and Bob's your uncle. You've got a pretty much a brand new figure. Metal Jedi must come with the cloak he was wearing to walk down the hallway. Yeah, that'd look good.
That'll be exclusive 6 months later.
Yeah. I was just about to say a bit of Balin and Shin or anything to go by, but based on how they're doing robes now as well, like if they just threw a robe over this one, I think, that'd look absolute quality. I think that'd look great. Yeah, nice pick. I like it. James, we'll move into your first pick, my friend. Let me just slide down the deck. Moving into some slightly more modern gaming. We have, and I know this one means a lot to you, mate, so talk us through this one. Merrin.
Yeah, this is Merrin, specifically the Jedi Survivor version. I think it's pretty criminal now that we've had 2 games that are about They've got 5 years between them, and we've got more troopers from these games than we've got actual characters. Especially Merrin, because for context, for those that might not play the games, at the time she's believed to be the last Night Sister on Dathomir, and it sort of becomes a bit of a mirror image of Cal as believing himself to be the last Jedi. And it's almost an unheard of truce that forms at the end of the first game, and then going into the second one, they develop a little bit of a romantic sort of story, and it's really good. It's a character that I think deserves a figure. You know, there's lots of the green Night Sister magic that goes on. She's got a cool staff weapon. You could include a lot of cool things with her. And I just think, like Jesse was saying, with the way figures are these days, it'd be a perfect translation just to put on your shelf with the rest of them. I think it's long overdue, and I just want it.
Do you know, I'm thinking back. I mean, you make a really, really good point there that we have seen so many sort of retooled and repainted figures from the Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor video games. I'm thinking Scout Troopers and battle droids and super battle droids and all that sort of stuff. Like that even though I'm not particularly familiar with the series and the story and the characters, like the fact that we got Degan Gera, have I pronounced that right?
That was better than the first time.
Thank you. The fact that we're getting him in the Black Series now is a really good sign of where the line's heading, because I mean, like we've said for a while, haven't we, that I mean, we said it in the last Gaming Great stream that we did. We felt like we were being a little bit ambitious with our picks, because at one point the Gaming Greats line was primarily a line just for retools and repaints and all that sort of stuff, whereas now we seem to be getting brand new characters and brand new sculpts. And I'm just looking into my pop cabinet, and they released a Merrin pop from the first game.
Yeah.
And that came at a time where Hasbro were putting out Gaming Greats figures and Funko were putting out Gaming Greats pops, and they were sharing the Gaming Greats logo that you see on screen at the moment. So it was almost like they were working hand in hand with one another, and the fact that we were getting at that time, like we were getting Sev in the Funko Pop line and getting Sev in the Black Series. We were getting, who else? Jedi Knight Revan and the Umbara Arc Trooper in the Black Series and in the Funko Pop series. So it was almost like they were working sort of simultaneously in cohesion with each other to get these characters into both lines. I know that obviously being separate companies, maybe that wasn't the case, but it just seemed weird that Merrin came out in that similar assortment and didn't make it into the Black Series. And given that she's such a pivotal character in the game, it's really surprising that she's not available yet. But I think as we've said,
having a quick glance over at my shelf, if you don't count the different variants of Cal that they've actually released, there is only 2 characters that are actually characters in the Survivor and Fallen Order lines. All the others are troopers or droids, a couple of Night Brothers.
That's really disappointing, isn't it, when you think about it?
It's crazy, again, but you wouldn't see that with anything else, really, typically.
No.
You know.
But then at the same time, like I said, it was an easy way for Hasbro to get figures out based on these games, but put very minimal budget into them so that they could just release, like you said, a repainted Night Brother or a repainted Cal or a retooled Cal or whatever. But the fact that we're now moving into a new age of Gaming Greats that's seeing, like I said, these newly sculpted characters, like I think the time has never been better for getting Merrin into the line. What about you two, Jesse, Dan? Are you behind this? Like, I'm keen to get everybody's thoughts on all of these characters, because, like I said, I think there's going to be a few choices made throughout this stream that not everyone on this particular panel, at least, maybe not watching, but out of the 4 of us, that maybe we're not overly familiar with each other's picks. So it's going to be nice to get a little bit of discourse going and a little bit of chatter about these characters themselves.
I think for me, I'm always for getting like weird Star Wars stuff, and Merrin falls into the category of spooky and creepy, and I love the whole setting of Dathomir. So to get more Knights history things, I'm all for. So yeah, I think that's the one. Like you guys said, it's disappointing to see that Hasbro haven't really given us that many characters from Fallen Order, and indeed many other video games that I think we're going to mention in this stream.
Absolutely.
And particularly when you always hear them talk about, the toyeticness of things and how it's always about good versus evil. And yeah, while you have a bunch of grunts, you need that Skeletor, you need that villain or, leader to follow them. I know Merrin's not that, but I think there's just so many missed opportunities with certain characters like Merrin that you don't see, and we need more of it. We need more love to video games, definitely.
Yeah, it's like you said, you don't just want one main character. I mean, that's how the Jedi games have felt over the course of the figures that we've seen in Black Series and Vintage Collection. It's like, yeah, we've got Cal, but then we've got multiple different grunts and troopers, and it's like, but let's flesh that shelf out a little bit, not just with troopers and the main character, but with the side characters and the counter, the sidekicks and the background characters and stuff like that. You want those shelves and those displays in your collection to be as fleshed out as your saga shelves and your movie shelves. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not overly familiar with the Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order games. I do have both versions of Cal from Order and Survivor. And they're fantastic figures, and I'm always for new characters in the line. And from what I've seen, I mean, I think for me personally, having not played the game but just being familiar with the appearances of the characters, I think I'd have to go with Merrin's first game appearance over this one, just because it is closer to the Night Sisters that we're familiar with. So just to get that in the collection would be good, but. No, I'm all for this, mate. I think it'd make a fantastic figure.
Yeah. Definitely. I'm all about I'm all for companion figures. That's sort of my little thing that I like to talk about is every figure that's released needs a companion. We had Darth Revan for a lot of years before we got Darth Malak. Figures like Jaina Solo, she still stands alone. We've got a Luke that can go with Mara Jade. Things like that, and I think Cal having someone like Merrin or Grease,
absolutely,
something that you can pose.
It just makes sense that they need a partner, and then I don't know. It's like having Han without Chewbacca or Lando without
exactly.
Solo. You got to have those two together.
Absolutely, man.
I feel like you need that character because I've really got into posing some characters in really unaction orientated poses, really subtle things from scenes that have just for example the new Leia they're releasing. I'm gonna have that on my Rogue One shelf. It's just gonna be straight up like that. I feel like characters like this just add to your display because they probably won't come with that many accessories, but there's a way to pose it to just add that storytelling, that world building to the main characters that you have. I don't know if that's just me. It's kind of interesting. But...
No, I'm with you on that one, mate. Because I'm the same. I think in terms of the gaming greats and the publishing line as well, I'm a little bit more forgiving of them just releasing one or two figures here and there from different games because I don't know about you guys and how you display your figures, and the same goes for you guys watching as well. Drop a line in the comments how you display yours, but I've got. For the most part, in my collection, I've got shelves organised by movie or property. So I've got a Mandalorian shelf, an Empire Strikes Back shelf, an Episode 4 shelf, a Clone Wars shelf, a prequel shelf. And I've got my Gaming Greats figures and my publishing figures are all mixed in. And I quite like the fact that we've not got a full wave of figures from one particular game. I like that shelf is so eclectic and it's so mixed. Because you've got your Darth Revans and then your Battlefront ARC Troopers and your Republic Commandos and your Starkillers, and it's just a really, like I said, an eclectic bunch. And I love that. So I'm a little bit more forgiving that we don't get these full lineups in that sense. But at the same time, I think it's one of those. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, Jesse, about having Revan without Malak. Like, you've got to have those figures that go together. You've got to have the scone, and you've got to have the jam, and then you've got to have a little bit of the cream on the top as well. So let's just have it all.
They need to have the friends. You buy one, they need to have a friend, and then that friend's going to get lonely, and that's what collecting is. And that's what you need.
Yeah, precisely. It's all good. It's what you want in the display. I mean, I could talk for. That's one of the things I want to touch on before we wrap this stream up. Is just like some of our personal highlights of the Gaming Greats line so far. But we'll get into that throughout. But yeah, Merrin, I'm all for it. Firmly behind it. Definitely want to see it. That brings us to my pick. Naturally, it's got to be the man himself. In the last Gaming Greats stream that we did, all of my picks came from Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2, and I went really left field with some of them. And I think it might have come as a shock to those that know me. People will have watched that stream and thought, there ain't no way he didn't pick Kyle Katarn. So I feel like just to satisfy the masses, and because I feel like now is as good a time as any to get him into the line, it's got to be Kyle Katarn. And if they're going to do any version of him, it's got to be the version from either Jedi Outcast or Jedi Academy. I want the beige tunic. I want the brown shoulder pad. I want the blue saber. I just want this beautiful bearded boy in my 6-inch Black Series collection. And like I said, I think given some of the figures that we're getting in Gaming Greats now, the fact that we've got Starkiller, the fact that we've got Shizor from Shadows of the Empire, and down the line we're going to be getting Dash Rendar, like, there's no better time to get what is. I thought I was one of very few, but it turns out this guy's a pretty big fan favourite. So get him into the line, Hasbro. Let's have the original Rogue One in the collection. Let's get him represented, because he is the guy who stole the Death Star plans. We need him in the displays. Come on.
The sheer amount of games that he's appeared in as well warrants
exactly.
The fact that Starkiller's had 2, obviously, Kyle Katarn's appeared in quite a few, and I think it's needed at this point. It's like, surely it's got to happen. It's got to happen.
I mean, I thought for years, like, there have only been 2 Kyle Katarn figures released in the 3 3/4-inch line. The first one came in 98 as part of the Power of the Force 2 line, and it's coming away from that steroidy, muscular look. But then at the same time, it's also based on his appearance in Dark Forces, which isn't particularly his most synonymous get-up. I think this costume and this look and the figure that they released, I'm just thinking back to, wasn't based on his gaming appearance. It was from one of the comic books, I believe. But they did Kyle in when that decides to focus in. They did him in the comic packs line back in, I think, 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
And this is as close. Yeah, and this is as close as we've had to a Kyle Katarn as he appears in the Jedi Knight games that we've had. And and like Matthew said in the comments, the comic pack one is still super buff. Probably a little bit more buff than the Power of the Force 2 version, oddly. But, like, this needs to happen in Vintage Collection as well. Like, I'm going to advocate for that. It needs to happen in Vintage Collection too, because this guy on a Vintage card, take my money.
Yeah.
But in 6 inches, I just feel like, and again, like I said, there's not a whole lot of accuracy going on there in terms of how he appears in the games. But, just get him in there. And I think there's an opportunity there as well, just to release him with like a variety of different weapons as well. If you don't want to go too overboard with it, just stick in the lightsaber and the famous Briar pistol, and you're sorted. And I'd be a very, very happy chappy with that.
What if they deluxed it?
Oh, I want them to deluxe it, man. Like, I never say it. I never say it, but I want them to deluxe it. Like, rail detonators, concussion rifles, thermal detonators. Throw it all in there.
Even crate, just put a crate in with it, and
absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I want everything that can be associated with Kyle Katarn. I want it released because this guy is responsible for what you see around me. So he needs to happen. He really, really does.
Hasbro
and Sea Lions, oh god, Sea Lion Studios he's just made me mess. 6-inch EU Power of the Force card back, lightsaber, rail detonator, briar pistol. Right in my basket. Now you're talking dirty to me, mate. You're talking dirty to me. Stop it. But yeah, it's got to happen. It's got to happen. And like I said, I'm just going to reiterate. I think with the choices that Hasbro are making to releasing gaming greats now, I think now more than ever is the time to get Kyle Katarn into the line.
I think particularly as well with the fact that we're now getting Dark Forces. That's been re-released, isn't it? At least now, or they're doing a limited run version of it.
Yeah,
I think it's an opportune time for Black Series at least, and I'm sure Vintage Collection, to do more gaming greats. So of course we've got the re-release of Bounty Hunter. So why aren't we seeing like stuff from that, like Jango Fett, just to coincide and cross-mediate those sort of releases that we used to?
It's topical.
There we go. Like, it just really surprises me that Hasbro's not leaned into that a little bit more. I think they are with Shadows of the Empire, because obviously that's the anniversary next year. But why aren't they doing it more with a lot of the more modern re-releases? Just to coincide, to get them sales for figures, and then also the actual games that are being, re-released. It's mad.
I mean, because that's the thing as well, because I think that at the moment, I'm not going to speak for Vintage Collection, and I'm not going to give it any grief for it either, but I think at the moment, the Black Series feels very well balanced in terms of new media, original trilogy, gaming, multimedia, publishing, Disney Plus media. Like, there's a nice balance. Prequels, there's a bit of everything in the Black Series for everybody.
We're eating good.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I think because the spectrum is so balanced in terms of the 6-inch stuff, I think releasing characters like this that weren't, they're not modern characters from current games, but they were released at a time where there weren't new Star Wars. Well, there weren't. We had the prequels, but think back to it. At one point, the Jedi Knight video game series in particular was one of the only links to post-original trilogy content. Like, it was the only thing that we were getting that was telling a story after Return of the Jedi. So in that sense, and because it's part of the expanded universe, which is so fondly remembered, you appease to that fan base that is still of, well, I was there in 77, I was there before Disney buyout, and you're appeasing everyone by doing stuff like this, and so that it's an instant sell.
I would argue as well, you're bringing in new collectors. Something that I remember, literally when they released Starkiller, I knew that I had him for Christmas. I got the deluxe version, but I went into Forbidden Planet, and I'm sure I messaged you saying, they've got Starkiller in. I didn't bother with him, which really pained me, because I was that close to just getting him, even though I've technically had him, or got him. But someone walked in, and they were with the girlfriend. I'm like, okay. He picks up the Starkiller. He's like, oh my god, Starkiller, I didn't even know they were making this.
Yeah.
Goes to the till. And I'm like,
my boy.
I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm glad I didn't buy it. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it's,
love that.
Look. There's more.
Pay it forward.
Pay it forward. That's it.
Like the good old days before the internet rolled around, when the only way to know what figures were coming out was to walk into the shop and look at the shelves.
Yeah.
Or
I miss that excitement to a certain degree.
Even look at the back of the box for the pictures.
Yeah.
You don't have that.
And you know what? That brings it full circle for me, because I remember, like I said, for those that know me, Jedi Knight and the Dark Forces series was my gateway to Star Wars. As far as I remember, I played those games before I saw the movies, so this is my Star Wars. And I remember at that time collecting Star Wars figures and thinking, God, I wish they made a Kyle Katarn figure. And then I don't remember whether I had heard it was happening prior, or whether it was purely by chance that I walked into a Toys R Us with my dad, walked down, if you remember the big displays that they had at the front of the store, they had those couple of aisles that led to it.
Yeah.
And this was at a point where Star Wars wasn't in the zeitgeist, but they were still popular. So you were walking into a store and like the stuff that was on the main display was like promoting whatever movie or whatever was out. But then the little aisles at the front of the store was the current trend. And I remember one of those aisles was just full of Episode 1 sneak preview stuff and Power of the Force Expanded Universe. And I remember walking in there with my dad and seeing that and going, that's Kyle Katarn. And even though the costume wasn't the one that I was familiar with, it was the character that got me into Star Wars. And I was like, I need this. And it was that excitement of seeing it for the first time in a shop. It was like, what a time to be alive, man. Loved it. It's so good.
That's it.
But yeah, Kyle Katarn. What about you, Jesse? Would you take one?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. If it's purely dependent on the happiness of your future, I will drop a coin on a Kyle figure.
It's key to my existence, mate. I'm not going to die happy unless I buy one of these before I pop my clogs. So yeah, it's got to happen. It's got to happen. Moving on, we'll go on to your second pick, Jesse.
Awesome.
Again, reaching into.
Well done.
Have we done mine?
Oh, Dan, sorry.
Oh, it's all right, mate.
That's my fault. I'm forgetting about you.
You get all excited with Kyle Katarn.
I know. Sorry, mate. Talk us through this lady.
Hello. So I've had a massive stonk on for, not this lady, but the video game series of Knights of the Old Republic. I didn't really understand it to begin with because I'm like, oh, Knights of the Old Republic. Oh, you're living vicariously, nerd. You're playing as... Raven isn't that great. And then I played the games and I'm like, oh, actually, you know what? These are quite tasty. So Knights of the Old Republic 2 is a janky-ass mess of a game. It's very painful to play, but the bones are there for something quite epic, and I hope one day they do, fix that jankiness of it, because it wouldn't be too hard to do, I'm sure. But nonetheless, Darth Traya is one very interesting character. So to begin with, this character starts off as your sort of companion, a little voice in your ear as a companion, and you think, oh, they're a bit of a dick, aren't they? As it progresses, she turns out to be the villain. So she starts off as Traya and then becomes Darth Traya. And it's wild how we get to that. And Darth Traya is fucking cool because she's the last boss you fight. She's got the power to conjure up these 3 lightsabers. She doesn't hold them. No, she just has these lightsabers floating around her. That's how she sends the lightsabers off to attack you, and I run like a little bitch at that. So nope, not dealing with that. That's
the innovator of the saber throw. Then
it really is. Well, not even just saber throw, just like have the lightsaber chase after you. So you got these 3 lightsabers, just like, and she's there like, yeah, come at me, bro. I'll force lightning you. Like, what is this?
That's like some Yondu shit, that, isn't it?
It really is. But she's really cool, and I think they could do both versions of her. So you could have basically the robe itself with the head with like the sort of how they did with Palpatine, where it's like full plastic head, switch out, and then the other version is Traya with her eyes kind of like ghostified, but not as more human, let's say it. And then just a removable hand, because she loses a hand at the start of the game, and then have her in her brown robes, but then you can cover that with the black robes. So you've got you're killing 2 birds with one stone. I'm going to buy the same figure twice. Deluxe it, simply put, and I'd buy it twice. I hope I'm making sense here, but this is one character that I really want to see made. I think she'd serve well because in terms of Darth Nihilus, you think Darth Nihilus is the big bad of the game. No. There's 3 of them. There's Darth Sion, there's Darth Nihilus, and then there's her. And it's just a big old like, whoa, this is tasty. This is really tasty. I don't know who's the main guy here. Who's pulling the strings? No, it's revealed to be her. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's cool. Just going back to the whole Phantom lightsaber thing, like they've just recently done a Funko Pop of Darth Traya, and she's sculpted in a way that like the display stand creates this like mist which has the lightsabers in it.
Yep.
Like, I think that'd be a really cool accessory if it came with something that you could attach the lightsabers to, so it made it look like they were floating around her. Whether Hasbro would go for that or whether they just give her the lightsabers, and because I'm assuming she uses them in hand-to-hand combat as well.
I think she definitely uses the lightsaber in hand-to-hand combat. But what I thought as well was either do it like how you suggested, Steve, or pretty sure they did an exclusive Luke with the training probe droid.
Yeah, like the translucent display stand.
Translucent display stand with like a little sort of connector hook. Slide the lightsaber blade through it. Have 3 of them, and that's why I would say do it as a deluxe, because then that's excess. That's bang for your buck. That's like, this would be such a cool figure to do. I'm not sure if Hasbro would ever do it to the level that I'm probably looking for. But just to see it, it would be pretty sweet. And we don't really see that many female Sith Lords. Let's be honest. So this would be a great way to get that out. Bit of inclusivity. If you don't like it,
shove it.
You know what? That's cool. That's that. Yeah.
Happy days. No, I like it. I mean, again, call me a fake fan, but I'm not overly familiar with the. I know the characters, but I don't fully know the involvement in the story of a lot of the characters in Knights of the Old Republic. But for me, it boils down to character design, and that's why figures such as Revan and Bastila Shan and Darth Malak are amongst some of my favourite Black Series figures, because even though I'm not overly familiar with their characters, they're just like aesthetic is just so good. And they have such shelf presence, and I think this figure would look absolutely dope on a shelf. So again, I'd pick it up just because it looks cool. Such a fake shield fan arse. I'm making it.
No, same here, Steve. I'm not too familiar either. I'm aware of the character, but they aren't really video games I've ever delved into. But I'd buy it.
I'm gonna be controversial. I mean, I tried playing Knights of the Old Republic. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2. I remember sort of around 2004. I got this like little PC bundle, and it came with Battlefront, Jedi Outcast, KOTOR, and Republic Commando. And I'd already played Battlefront and Jedi Outcast, so I knew what that was all about. But I gave Knights of the Old Republic a go, and I just couldn't get into it. And having gone back, because I put the intro for this stream together, and when it came to finding a clip from Knights of the Old Republic, I was searching through footage and looking for clips, and I was like, there's so much talking. But that's like, where's the action? Where's the action? And call me like, I mean, I've literally been in that crowd of people who have kicked off at others who didn't like Andor, where it's like, well, there's not much action, is there? It's all a lot of talking. It's like, yes, but it's deep and it's meaningful and it's good. Literally that same person that's like, yeah, but Knights of the Old Republic is a universally revered game, and there's too much talking.
I completely relate, because when normally when I invest in a game, I watch gameplay of it. Because that's the modern age thing to do. I don't go in blind and play it, and it does take patience to get into it. I'm not gonna lie, because when I started, I was like, I'm fucking bored shitless. I'm on this. I've been on this planet, and it tells you like how long you've been playing. And I'm like, I'm trying to work out what I've got to do. I've been playing on this planet for almost 2 or 3 hours, talking to random strangers, and they're telling me nothing.
Yeah.
But then once you leave that planet and you get into the fucking game, and yes, there's a lot of talking. Yes, there's a lot of chatting shit to people. And yes, because me being me, I like to chat shit to people virtually. Then I found out I was making a lot of mistakes, and then I had to go back, and I was like, oh no, I want to play good. I want to be a good guy, because being bad is just not working out for me. So, and that's the thing about Knights of the Old Republic. I completely get how people struggle with those games, because there's a lot of commitment that you have to kind of put behind it. I'm not sure if I've wasted my time by doing that, but I feel like in terms of understanding why people like these characters such as Darth Revan and Jedi Revan, whatever, you know, and like even in KOTOR 2, I'd understand why people would really struggle with KOTOR 2, because it's an unfinished mess. There's plot lines that don't even get resolved. There's cutscenes that happen, and you're like, what was that all about? Believe me, it's only until you like start reading into it, you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's pretty cool. But in the moment, you're like, fucking what is going on here? And my ending tonight's the Old Republic 2, because all the endings are kind of different, because how you play it influences, and that's where the sort of personal attachment goes with it. So when you finish the game, it's like there's like a sort of self-adventure that you've had. You've had a completely different experience to what someone else has had. And that's why I completely get why people love those games. But as an outsider, if you're just watching someone play it, you're going to be bored shitless.
Do you know what, though? I feel like a hypocrite saying what I've just said, because I'm of the ilk of from the generation that grew up with what I'll call the golden age of LucasArts. So mid-90s LucasArts. Like, my favourite video game of all time is a game called Grim Fandango. Don't know if anyone's familiar with that or not, but it literally is just talking. That's the game's premise. It's an adventure game, but a lot of it is dialogue based, and it's very dialogue heavy, and it's all about choices that you make in terms of the lines that you speak to other characters. And for all intents and purposes, it is like you've just described, Dan. It is going around talking to people and getting the objectives done. And if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have a how-to guide, like, you've got no idea what you're doing.
So you end up doing random shit. And somehow something sticks. At some point, something sticks.
Yeah, and like I said, that Grim Fandango is my favourite video game. Like, it trumps any Star Wars video game I've ever played, even the Jedi Knight games, because I've just got such an affinity for it. But like I said, it is just walking around talking, so I feel like a bit of a dick saying, well, KOTOR's just a lot of going around and talking. But I don't know, there's just something about it just didn't click with me. I don't know what it is. But I mean, like I said, character design and stuff, like, I'm all for it. I'd love to see figures from it, but as a story and maybe as a story, I'm missing the point. But just as gameplay, like, it doesn't really tickle my pickles. Do you know what I mean? So
and I completely get that, because gameplay is janky as out. So I think the story drove it for me, and like the action that did eventually come was like, oh shit, finally something's happening. Yes. That's
what I thought when I was, like I said, when I was compiling the intro and it came to that, the clip I've used of Bastilla blowing the door open and then battling the Sith troopers. I was like, oh, there's action.
That's it.
Flip it before anything else boring happens.
Because that's one of the last.
I'm so sorry to KOTOR fans.
It's one of the last missions you do before leaving the planet of is it Telos? And Telos is boring. Telos is extremely boring, I felt. But that's where you meet a lot of the characters that will go on with you throughout the story. But yeah, I get it completely.
What about you, Jesse? Where do you stand on the KOTOR debacle?
Oh, look, it's at the end of the day, it's video games are another sort of medium for storytelling, and how that's up to the people who make it, is how they want to tell the story and how you play it. And unless it's Fortnite, in which case your brain cells just turn to piss anyway. But but I don't know. KOTOR is just one of those things I've sort of dabbled with it over the years and bits and pieces, and it's just not enough to grab my attention these days. I need something a little bit more immersive. So I'm not totally up with the story. I've got a rough idea of sort of bits and pieces, but if they did a Black Series Traya, I'd be all in, because Sith are sick. Like, it's awesome. Yeah. And
I was just about to say, you sound a little bit sort of like me, where you appreciate the character visually and having that presence on the shelf rather than being immersed in the story. So decent pick, Dan. I mean, I was actually planning on picking up that Darth Traya pop ahead of this stream, just so that we, topical, because it does look. I mean, and again, it's one of those. It taps into weird Star Wars shit, because it's just, especially how the pop's put together. I mean, kudos to Funko for how they've done it, and the fact that they've done it. What a left field pick. I know they've done a Darth Malgus figure, but I think he's got a bit more traction behind him than a character like Traya. But like I said, just execution of how they've done it. It's just such a weird thing to put out, and I'm all for it. So yeah, weird Star Wars, man. Give us more. Give us more.
The wacky, the wild, the wonderful, the whimsical.
Definitely.
All about it.
And the damn miserable, because she's a misery guts.
That brings us back to you, James, and once again diving into the modern side of Star Wars gaming.
I think it brings us back to Jesse, not me.
Does it?
Gosh.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I am shite at this. I'm sorry. I'm shit at round tables.
No,
I really am.
You're fine.
Don't
put yourself down. Come on, man.
Can't help it. But carrying on throughout the Old Republic era, and another character that the only familiarity I have with this character is from a Lego set that I owned once upon a time that came with, it was like a Jedi cruiser starfighter thing. So talk again, fun and educational. Talk me through this character, Jesse, because I'm familiar with Bastilla Shan, Satele Shan. Is there a link? There
is.
Okay.
Again, the Old Republic, it's not something I've played. I've never been an MMO sort of guy. I just don't play on computers, PCs. I'm a console guy, so it's never really been something I've accessed. But I've done a lot of reading, they did a lot of books. They've got a really cool Old Republic encyclopedia, which it's cool stuff to read. There's some really cool story elements. They did obviously the video game trailers for the Old Republic, which were just freaking unreal. That cinematically they still sort of hold up, and there's people that would probably take a movie made like that today, I reckon.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was under the impression until recently that Satele was the daughter of Revan and Bastilla, but she's a bit further down as a descendant of Bastilla. Bastilla, I don't know what to call her. I think it's meant to be Bastilla, but
oh, don't worry about it. I say Ravan.
Yeah,
tomato. It's all good.
It's a Han.
Yeah.
But Satele, Satele Shan being, I believe at this point she is Grandmaster of the Jedi, and just the fight she has with Malgus on Alderaan in that cinematic where you've pulled the image from. I don't know. I like the outfit of the armor. I like the look of her dual lightsaber. And again, it sort of takes me back to having a companion figure, and Darth Malgus sort of sitting up there on his own from the Old Republic. He begs for a companion figure, and whether it's a hero to verse him on the shelf, or someone like Shay Vizsla, would be another really cool one. They've done her really well in TVC, but just another cool Jedi, a bit of history of the Old Republic, and the Darth Malgus was such a banging figure. To have him posed up fighting a badass Jedi like Satele, I think would be really, really cool.
Yeah, definitely. That brings us back to what we were saying with Kotor, though. Like, I'm not familiar with the Old Republic either as a story and with its characters. But I was really I was jostling with the idea of picking Jace Malcolm as a pick for this because having that old Republic trooper armor represented in Black Series would have looked awesome, and again, it would have served the same purposes as Satele in terms of a counterpart figure for Malgus. But now, I think if the way that they did Bastilla is any indication, then Satele would translate so well into Black Series, especially with like the ornate detailing of the costume and stuff.
Yeah.
Plug it into my veins.
Just looking at the detail on her lightsaber hilt there too, like Black Series that shit up too. Like just do a lightsaber hilt, just put that out.
Absolutely.
Do a Darth Malgus one, and that's huge. You know.
Yeah.
I know they'll never do that, but still.
What about you two, James? Dan?
Like the cinematics of those from that game, they're like 12 years old at this point. It was 2000, more than that, nearly 15 years old. And they're still unreal to go back and rewatch every now and then. Like there's people that have done like big long clips and just to go back and
sometimes go and watch those if they just show up in my recommended feed. They're just so entertaining and just so fucking cool.
Yeah,
I just remember. So the other videos I love watching on YouTube with the Old Republic are the journals of Master Nostjarol, where it's like a Jedi sort of going into the archives and recounting like the old Sith wars, and like there's like 15 or something videos that you can go through and watch a playlist, and it's just going back and revisiting bits of story from KOTOR, bringing it up to the current, and it's so good. The artwork's unreal. Definitely recommend checking out those videos.
One of my I remember when the hype was at Eva pitch for the Old Republic, and like you said, those cinematic trailers that came out, and there was that one where the Sith cruiser or whatever it is crashes into the temple, and then the panel comes down, and then all the Sith just light up their lightsabers, and I was like, oh man, this is it. Yeah, this is the stuff. And then when not to dick on it, but when the Acolyte trailer came out and we saw the Jedi with all the lightsabers, and we were like, oh, here we go again in live action, and it didn't quite work out that way. But no, I mean, like I said, not overly familiar with the story or the characters, but visually, so many from these games or this game series that would translate excellently into Black Series. What about you, Dan? James, where do you stand on the Old Republic? Because I didn't even know that it was a sequel to KOTOR. I thought it was a prequel. So again, fake fan. But
I'm only familiar with it through these cinematics and various figures that have come out over the years. Like Jesse, I'm more of a console gamer. I've never had a PC that could run massive games like these, and I'd still buy them. When you were on about how you display your figures from various different things earlier, all mine are in chronological order, right to left. And as you were saying, a lot of yours stand out when they're all on the same shelf and they're all obscure. I like, even though you might only have one or two from a game or a comic or a series, just having them in the places on the timeline, those stand out and sometimes make more interesting things that draw the eye than all of the familiar stuff. So I'd buy anything for that reason. I like the idea of creating a visual timeline with my figures. Not that anyone ever comes in and looks at them, but if let's say if it was a museum, I would hope that somebody would look at it and pan across. And maybe for somebody that doesn't even follow Star Wars, they could perhaps see a trend of a passage of time across the years. So sign me up. I'd buy it.
Because
story
about creating talking points, isn't it?
Yeah, I think costume wise as well, that's one big thing with Star Wars, that you don't even need to sort of know much about the actual timeline of Star Wars, but just looking at a character, you can kind of piece together where they fall.
Where they're from,
particularly with Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic, they've got such an ornate look Like, and then when you get to the Acolyte, then you've got that. They're still ornate, but they're becoming more what a traditional Jedi in the prequels would be considered. And it kind of follows in that sort of trend, and
visual evolution.
I dig that. Yeah, I really dig that. But for me, Bastila. Sorry. What's the? See, this is the thing I don't know much about. Oh,
suddenly I look so good.
I know a bit of shit about Knights of the Old Republic, but Old Republic is the era that I've really not, other than the cinematics, other than sort of like odd bits of YouTube gameplay. I know Yogscast did a video of them streaming some gameplay of it. It was quite fun back in the day, but I have no clue, no sort of like real, other than elements of some story beats, I don't really know much about Old Republic. But everything in it looks cool. That's why I ended up making Shea Vizsla. So,
kind of just quickly as well for me, what makes me sort of interested into going in and diving and learning about new Star Wars that I haven't necessarily spent time on before is when we get figures that are so left field. Let's say this one gets Pipeline next week, and I'm like, oh wow. So that makes me want to put the effort in to go and learn more, because I feel if it's 100%. Been represented on my shelf, I need to have some sort of resonance with it.
Yeah. And whether or not you go and read a bit of Wikipedia or whatever, or Wikipedia, and you get a little bit of intel that way. Everyone likes to slam everyone for going, oh, you just land on Wikipedia. It's like, well, no shit, that's information these days. That's how we consume information. It's a resource.
Yeah.
Doesn't make you a fake fan.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Gatekeeping does not exist. It is not a thing, so stop doing it. Solid pick again though. Like I said, my only connection to this character is through an ancient Lego set from I think 2012, which, if I remember rightly, those Lego sets from the Old Republic were absolutely amazing. I always wanted not sure what it was, but the giant black Sith vehicle. I can't remember the name of it for the life of me, but it came with Malgus and the Sith troopers and all that sort of stuff. And those janky Sith troopers with the massive buckets and just visually and aesthetically, like it's like you said earlier, James, about Hasbro wanting to toyify everything. Like, what would make a good toy? Like figures like this, or like you said, Jesse, Shea Vizsla. Make for epic toys. They really would make for epic toys, and especially in 6-inch, the superior scale, the level of detail and the canvas that you can paint on with that, I think, just lends itself to characters like this. So yeah, I'd love to see it. That does bring us to you now, James, for your next pick. Live and exclusive from the Holocom collection. Talk us through Eno Cordova, because again, showing my fake fan levels, not overly familiar with the Survivor games, but I hear he plays a pretty pivotal part, so talk us through this one. Yeah,
so Master Cordova is actually the original owner of BD1. And so as Cal discovers BD1, he's chock full of these little holograms. And you're sort of rebuilding his memory as you go through the game. Each one linked to a story and a location, and 9 times out of 10, you've got a lovely little holo message from this chap. And he's a Jedi from, the prequel era, and he has a Force premonition that something terrible is going to happen to the Jedi Order. So he takes all the information of the Force-sensitive children in the galaxy and puts it into a holocron and hides it. And then he disappears, goes off radar, and he starts to explore the unknown regions and investigate into the Zepho, who are like this ancient... my memory fails me. I don't know if they're so Force-attuned as the Night Sisters, but I think in recent times they've often been seen as the equivalent to the Night Sisters, if you look back into the ancient history of these different groups of characters. He's just very interesting to me. He's very much put across as this pseudo mentor to Cal, because he loses his master during Order 66, and for me it combines a little bit of Star Wars and Indiana Jones, because he's very much an explorer. And so with you using the hologram picture here, this is a massive point that I've wanted to hit home about with Hasbro for so long, is when you're going to do a holocom figure, make it make sense. I mean, yes, the Mandalorian sells really well for you, I'm sure, but I don't need one that's see-through and blue on my shelf. If they brought out this character, you could have this version here, which is how he appears in the first game for its entirety. And then, I don't know if it's just me, when I was playing the first game, but you get the impression that he's no longer alive. You think, oh, he must have died long ago.
Yeah.
And then in the second game, he just randomly shows up. It's on Jeddah at the. It's sort of they're trying to rebuild the Jedi Archive, and it's either similar to or the same place that Saw Gerrera ends up calling his base in Rogue One. And it's really cool, and it's quite a heartfelt moment when Cal sees that he's actually physically there and alive. So you could get two figures out of this, and I think they both sell really well, because all these holocom characters only appear as holograms, whereas this guy's character pretty much is a hologram for 2.5 hours worth of story. So I'd buy both of them, and I'd be very happy in doing so.
My only one. What, my only Mando? Your only Mando figure, David, or your only holocom figure? Because if it's your only Mando figure, then you want to go home and rethink your life. So, I mean, I think you pretty much just covered it there, really, James. But in terms of, because when you sent this one across as your pick, I'm not going to be honest. I'm going to be honest. I didn't judge you, but I thought, yes. For me, that's a pretty weak pick, because not because I'm not familiar with the character, but just in terms of aesthetically, there's not. For me, I mean, your mileage may vary depending on your connection to the character, and like you've just said, for you, it's like he's an important character, he's a very good character. But for me, like visually and aesthetically, there's not a great deal going on there that really excites me. So is it more of a connection to the character that formed this choice, or is it?
Yeah, again, I feel like he's an important character that, I mean, he does. I don't think he necessarily deserves a figure, but you could have a display without him. But for me, he's one of those sort of underdogs that you could have on the shelf. I like the obscure characters, the ones that do sometimes take a little bit of explaining. There's a certain niche about him. His outfit's pretty basic, it's traditional Jedi outfit, but then around his belt he's got all sorts of little adventure greeblies, like he's got more of a, how on the old Ben's outfit he's got sort of a satchel that's part of the belt. He's got something like that, and a couple of different grappling attachments. He's got a really cool looking lightsaber, which you never see him use, but it's a collectible in the game. You can pick up the different pieces through chests to customize yours in that same style. I just like him, man.
Nice. What about you two? Is this one you'd go for?
I would, yeah. Maybe not as the holocom figure, but as just a general sort of figure. Like, again, like James said, it's more about the attachment to the character. He's in the first game, he's very much sort of the spiritual advisor to Cal. Sort of that Ben Kenobi sort of guides him on his way and helps progress the story. And then to have him, you go, like you said, you go through the first game thinking like, oh, this guy's he's history, he's long gone, and then the surprise in the second game of him just showing up and he's just there, he exists in the flesh. It's like, okay, this takes on a little bit more meaning for the character, for Cal and you as the player. But
if we're completely avoiding spoilers as well, because let's face it, the game's been out for so long now, and if you wanted to play it, you have. Not very long after discovering that he is still alive, he gets taken from you. There's a massive plot twist in the game where so you sort of defeat Dagon and you defeat the Bedlam Raiders, and you think, oh, the game's wrapping up pretty quick. That's a bit of a fast story. Jesus, what's going on here? And you've got a guy that works on your crew called Bo Dakuna, and it turns out he's tipped the Empire off that this sort of surviving Jedi sort of archive and information still exists, and he's revealed to be another surviving Jedi from the Order that aligned himself with the Empire and has got family, and Master Cordova tries to talk him down and stop him from taking the information, and he turns around and shoots him dead.
Such a jerk.
Jeez.
Yeah, man. But it's like if you were watching any show, it sort of fills you with hope and then fucking pulls that carpet right out from under you.
Deep.
And again,
what about you, Dan? One for you?
Sorry, I was just going to say, yeah, it's
Sorry,
another character
Jesse.
moment.
It's so good.
It's just another character moment, like, that drives Cal in a certain direction of the story when he loses, someone who's been a spiritual mentor to him.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
I think figure-wise, though, something I really like is the fact that you could. It's an easy one. It's an easy one to do in that they could do it as a holocron. They could do it as, a bog standard figure. I'd lap it up because at the end of the day, it's a Jedi, and we need more Jedi on our shelves. And if I have a connection with it, that's cool. If I didn't, it still works because it's just another character. Like with the Acolyte figures, you could just whab them on your shelf and you think no more of it. It's another Jedi. It's another Jedi. I'm all for it. And, I think he's pretty cool. That's the long short.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. Yeah, I think it's one of those.
As a bald guy too, I appreciate the representation.
There we go.
There we go then. Multi-purpose. No, decent pick, mate. Decent pick. That brings us round to me, if I'm not mistaken. Am I right?
Yeah.
I hope I'm right. Thank God.
I've lost the fucking plot as well now. So.
Well, so have I, but that's it. We're going in. My next pick, mine's going to be an educational one now. It's time for me to talk about something that you guys don't know about, or at least you, James, because I know that you're not overly familiar with this game.
Yeah.
But straight out, and how fitting it is as well. That we've just had the reveal of Commander Cody for the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. Direct from the Episode 3 video game is this Chongus Beefy boy known as a clone Blaze Trooper. Now, I was toying with, like I said, I was toying with some ideas of what to pick, and I couldn't decide between. It was a tough call between this, Jace Malcolm from the Old Republic, and even though, again, I'm not familiar with KOTOR, but just from a purely design perspective, T701, just to get an ancient astromech into the action figure line. But nostalgia took over, and I had to go with this one. These guys are unbelievably hench. As you can see from the image on screen, you basically it's the Episode 3 video game. For those who haven't played it, is very much your typical Move-A style video game in the sense that you go through the motions of the stages of the Move-A, but there's obviously a lot more action packed into each bit. So the rescue on Coruscant is much more dragged out, and there's more fighting droids and all that sort of stuff to it. When it comes to the Battle of Utapau, there are an unbelievable amount of clone trooper ranks in this game, and I'm talking Battlefront levels of different troopers. So you've got standard clone troopers, you've got, I think, blaze troopers, you've got heavy gunners with bazookas. It's like there's so many different trooper classes in this game, and it was really hard to pick just one. But I went for the Blaze Trooper just because it's such an unusual design. I think, given the fact that we've just got a reveal of a new Star Wars Transformer on the way, like, it's pretty fitting. But I think as a deluxe figure, like this would just be such a cool design. And again, there's a running theme throughout my picks here that it just looked cool on the shelf. And this is like, it's so far removed from anything Star Wars. Like it just looks like something out of Gundam, for God's sake. It doesn't look like Star Wars as we know it, but it's
out of interest, Steve, how tall is it? Because I can't remember. I know I've played the game before, but I can't remember how big these
I'd say
are.
on the image that's on screen now, I'd say a regular trooper. Because these are, I think they are troopers in suits. They are like they're not mechs. They're troopers. Well, yeah, they're mechs. They're troopers in suits. They're not droids or anything like that. So you kind of get an idea of the size from the trooper's head.
Kind of like Malik, a little bit Malgus maybe. I don't know.
It's almost like Warhammer Space Marine.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. It's like I'd say a little bit taller than Malgus. I'd say a standard trooper probably comes up to the upper chest plate of the figure of the character. I'd say.
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys they've got jetpacks, they've got flamethrowers, and they just whiz around. And they, like you're running around on the Utapau level of the game as Obi-Wan, and you're twatting all the droids and the super battle droids. And then when Order 66 is enacted, the Episode 3 video game for me was as traumatic as the movie when Order 66 comes into effect, because suddenly not only are you running through the streets of Utapau cutting down droids, but then you've got all these clones to contend with as well. And you've got, like I said, heavy gunners that are sat on the cliff edges firing rockets at you, and then you've got these guys flying around blasting you with flames. It's just fuck off, leave me alone. But like I said, just for in terms of aesthetic and in terms of design, I think this would be such a cool figure. And I appreciate the fact that this isn't your Kyle Katarn, who is a beloved EU character. This is a left field choice. This is a deep cut. But I think as a deluxe figure, like something chongus and brutish, I just think it looks mint. And what's great about it as well is that throughout the game, if I'm not mistaken, there's different markings for them. So this is obviously a 212 Blaze Trooper. I think later on down the line you encounter 501st ones. I may be mistaken, but they're just such a cool design, and they're just so different. And I think not only could you release this as a deluxe figure because of its size, but throw in some flame effects for the gauntlet and stuff, and you're onto a winner. Like, I'd love to see this in Black Series. I'd love to see it in Vintage Collection, to be fair. I'd just love to see it as an action figure. I think it screams toy. Do you know what I mean? It's good.
Yeah.
So good. So yeah, that's my pitch. My pitch for some pretty cool representation in the Gaming Greats line. What about you guys? I know James has mentioned he's not overly familiar with the game and the characters within it, but what about you guys? One you'd go for? One you're familiar with?
Oh, they'd have to deluxe it easily. But it's
yeah.
chunky. I love anything that's chunky, anything that's got real girth to it, that's in your hand, and you're like, that's a big boy, like, that's what you want. And I feel like if I got this, I'd have to get a flight stand for it, just because I think it'd look pretty badass.
Yeah, it's another one of those as well where stick some flame effects in the jetpack and stick it on a stand, and he's joined us in the chat. Brandon from Hasbro itself. Pitch heard. Yes, please. No, hope you're keeping notes, mate. But when we were at Hasbro HQ the other week, I didn't realise that the flight stands that Hasbro Pulse sell come in packs of 3, and having had hands on them, they are so good. I've got a couple of third-party ones in my collection that are a bit janky and a little bit too light. I've got Pre-Vizsla on one at the minute, but yeah, I think to get this guy and then to couple it up with one of those flight stands, and then you've got the flame effects as well. Like, holy hell, can you imagine? It looks so good. It just looks so good. I'd juice all over for it.
If they marketed it as one of those new timed pre-orders that they've started to do as well, it's almost like the perfect little bracket exists for something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would just be like such a nice little like diversion off track for if we're celebrating Revenge of the Sith next year. Obviously, it's not going to happen next year, but you know, can you imagine if you got a main line of Revenge of the Sith card characters and then you just got this guy thrown in as a deluxe gaming greats figure in the main line? Like, it's just too chunky and beautiful not to do. So yeah, pitch heard and noted, I hope. Collector Curve has mentioned as well, Clone Assassin, and that was another one I was really close to picking. Because again, for those who aren't familiar with the game, Clone Assassins are they wear Commander Neo's armor, very similar helmets to Neo, and they have like these blades on the vibro blades on their wrist gauntlets. So they've got command kamers, and they've got this like purple and white deco. Like I said, the trooper classes in the Episode 3 game are on another level, and I'd love to see every single one released. Like, and the beautiful thing about it as well, if you did it in Vintage Collection, is you could just stick them on a Revenge of the Sith card. You know what I mean? Because they're from the Episode 3 game. Stick a little gaming great sticker on it. Bob's your uncle. Beautiful. I would lap it up. I would absolutely lap it up.
Sick.
So, and yeah, and again, Collector Curve, Sindrali count as 100% counts as gaming great.
Please.
Yeah.
Get Nick Gillard in the collection, 100%.
What if they did that as a free pack? How hard would that slap?
Oh my god.
How hard?
Sindralig, I forget his. He has an apprentice in the game as well, and I've completely forgotten her name. And Anakin gives her one of the most grisly deaths that you'll see in a Star Wars game. Like, obviously for the time, it's pretty tame, but if I'm remembering rightly, when you defeat her in the game, you obviously at this point you're playing as Anakin, but as Darth Vader when he's going through the Jedi massacre in the temple, and he fights. I've completely forgotten her name, Sindralig's apprentice. But when you defeat her, she goes flying over a balcony, and then he just throws a fucking pillar column at her, and it just crushes her. And that's it. She's just flattened.
The double tap.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a number of different characters that are introduced in the Episode 3 game that you never see anywhere else. So deep cut that shit and give us some give us some stuff from some of these lesser. I'm not saying lesser known games because it's a movie video game, but you know, like games like that not everybody's like, it's not up there on everyone's hit list. You know what I mean? Oh, I want to see a figure from Episode 3, the video game. I want to see a figure from Jedi Power Battles. You know, it's not something that happens a lot. So give us those deep cuts, that weird Star Wars shit. I'm here for it, please. So Metal Jedi's bowing out. He's off to Batuu. Enjoy. Not one bit jealous.
I know. Yeah.
And then Collector Code. Yes, the Mundi rubbing is severely intensifying. That brings us back to Jesse, if I'm not mistaken. I might be, but we're going to go with it anyway. Does it? No. Is it you? No, is it Dan? I forgot.
It's Dan.
Come on, Dan. Fucking hell, fire. It's early. I've been up since 5 a.m. Leave me alone.
It's all right, mate. Don't worry about it. Oh, these fine gentlemen. What do they do on screen here?
There we go.
So yeah, my choice is the Sith Trooper, from Knights of the Old Republic. Surprise, surprise. These are just very removed from anything you would expect of the Sith, I would say.
They look like those henchmen that Thanos has in Avengers.
Yes. Yeah. They've got a bit of that vibe to it. And that's what I like, because during Knights of the Old Republic, you know, Sith are out on the street, and they're, you know, in some ways have to be a little
Enforcers.
bit... No, not even enforcers. It's very interesting, the whole sort of political spectrum of Knights of the Old Republic. in that you can have Republic people on one planet walking about, and then Sith troopers like these walking about, and then you've got the kind of people in the middle who are Circa Corporation who aren't really in the middle. It's very complex, but Sith troopers, if you go to a certain planet and you talk shit to them, you're going to end up in jail. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. And that's the planet with the weird little alien dudes who have the, like, manta ray heads. What are they called again? I know they appear in Clone Wars. One of them does. But anyway, that's side research. Let's focus on the Sith Trooper. Sith Trooper.
That's a Wikipedia project for later.
That's a Wikipedia project for your later. Sith Troopers are just very, very sort of... You go up and talk to them, and they're like, look, I don't want anything to do with you. I'm just here, stationed, doing my thing. Just, you know... and then eventually you do have to fight them, and you infiltrate the base. There's a lot... They're very cool. They're very cool looking, and they come in different colours. So these are the standard troopers in silver. I would like to see them in more of a chrome silver if Hasbro were to do them. Not sure on the artwork in terms of this, but they have a very...
It was really tricky to try and get like a high-res image of these particular troopers, because when you told me your pick was the Sith Trooper, my mind instantly went to the ones from the Old Republic, not KOTOR, or you know the ones with the big clunky bucket heads.
I would say,
which would make for fantastic figures, but
I've made it difficult for you because arguably the Old Republic Sith Trooper is a bit more interesting because it's so goofy. It's like stupid bucket head, big bulky armor, but then compared to this, it's a bit. These are very.
I was just about to say the old Republic Sith Troopers are a lot more in keeping with what we expect of a Star Wars trooper design. Like they're very Stormtrooper-esque.
Yeah.
Aren't they? Whereas this is, like you said, it's just so far removed from what we expect of a trooper. They are very prequel era in that sense that they're very polished and very smooth and very.
The more political. It's more of a political statement. I am Sith. I'm here to just support the Sith and do my part within their ranks.
Like police officers, essentially, aren't they?
Yeah, effectively. Do
they wield lightsabers or blasters or?
It's a variety. So in Old Republic, it's not really lightsabers that Jedi actually wield lightsabers. Sith actually wield lightsabers, but in terms of Sith, it's either blasters or swords, like long swords and short swords and vibro axes, things like that. So Sith troopers tend to have like blasters and they're walking around, and then occasionally you'll bump into one that does have a thing. The whole ideology of the Sith during the Old Republic time, Knights of the Old Republic time, that I find really interesting, is it's all based on strength. It's not so much about force adept, but I think if you are force adept, that's where people are a bit more like, oh fuck, he's force adept. How can I outmaneuver him and rise myself up against in the ranks? And then it depends if you get. It's very interesting. I think the whole political spectrum of Old Republic and Knights of the Old Republic is the more interesting side of it. But in terms of the Sith Trooper and being in the ranks, it's more like, well, who's the strongest? And it's all that fight to be the strongest person, that mentality of that. So yeah, there's an actual mission where you go to the planet where they train. There's a Sith training planet, and you meet a lot of people who are just like, and you just have to, you're undercover there, and you're basically trying to outdo everyone. Like, oh, I find a shiny like Sith artifact. I'm so amazing. Look at me. And then the Sith person's like, that's kind of cool, but that's not good enough for me. Beat the shit out of this guy, and you get your ass handed to you because you haven't leveled up well enough. But that's by the by. It's just, I think this design of the Sith Trooper, where they've like been able to be a Sith Trooper, is just such a cool look. That's removed of their personality because there isn't even a face there.
That's what I like.
Stormtroopers actually have a face, but you've got nothing to connect with when you're looking at that. So yeah, you've got this silver rank. Then there's the red rank, which have this look. Thank you, Stuart.
That's quite alright, no worries.
It's very good. These guys, they're the sort of more
production.
Oh, they're the sort of more eliter ones, so you tend to face these a bit later on in the game. They're mixed in with the silver troopers. But again, that's an easy repaint, an easy 2-pack you can do. I think this would really benefit as the 2-packs. Or even if they're going to do it in Vintage Collection, do it in the old one of these boxes. That'd be sweet. That'd be really cool. Have like 3 silver ones to 1 red one. That'd be dope. I think that'd be really sick. And give them all different weapons. So you could give them swords. You can give them the traditional Sith blaster. There's a lot you can do there. In terms of accessory wise. And then even if you didn't use some of the accessories, you can give it to some of the characters that you could make down the line, because there's plenty. And that's my pitch. That's my little pitch.
I
like it. Like I said, I'm glad that you stuck with this one when we were talking about it, and we thought, oh, you know, which Sith trooper do you mean exactly? And you said no, because it just surprised me so much, because you were like, no, this one, because it is, and it is in contrast to the old Republic ones. It is just so simple, and it is just so, like you said, devoid of all personality and individuality. It's just like it's one of those things. It's like that you look at stormtroopers and you're like, oh, that's they're devoid of personality and individuality because they are just uniforms. But then it's like you said, the fact that they don't even have the face, it's like, it's such a cool design. And like you said, in terms of practicality, getting it out as an action figure, a 2-pack would be dope. Like, even if they did it on, like, I mean, they probably wouldn't, because the Army Builder 2-packs are more for repacked figures. But even if they did it in one of those little windowless boxes, and just got them out, that'd be pretty sick. But again, it's like accompaniments to figures we've already got. Bastilla, Revan, Malak. And I think that especially the red troopers, like, can you imagine a couple of those flanking Malak on your shelf? Oh,
absolutely.
That'd be sick.
Oh.
But that's what I love about these, because they do follow a lot of the ideas that Lucas kind of set in his earlier film, THX-1138, in the fact that those troopers are very like, there's nothing about them, and these have that same vibe where they're not even like soldiers. They are just enforcers. They're Sith enforcers at the end of the day, just roaming about the street, just making their presence known.
Sith cops. Sith cops.
That's it. Sith cops.
Love it.
Disney Plus.
Label it on the spin-off Sith cops.
Previously on Sith cops.
Yeah, like just cruising around like Horizon or something, like a buddy cop comedy with 2 Sith troopers just like buzzing around. Here for it.
Played by Sam Witwer and
100%. Yes.
Oh, that his fucking name's gone right out my head. Here we go, fake fan again.
Yeah, we're just
Freddie Prinze Jr.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it on. Figure-wise, what about you guys? Jesse, James, you guys want these in your collections?
I like a good trooper. So let's have a couple of them. Eh?
I think it's good as well. Just like going back to what you said, James, about showing that timeline on your shelf, like to have these guys right at the front, and then like that leading into sort of your clone troopers and your stormtroopers and your First Order and stuff. Like, good representation.
I like that typical Star Wars. What's become almost a rule of thumb, where the older stuff looks higher tech than the newer stuff, and in any other realm that would be fucking stupid. But because he made the films back to front, we've somehow accepted it, and now it's awesome. So,
but at the same time, I do like the explanation behind that, though, because they've said, haven't they, over the years that like Knights of the Old Republic era and the prequel era and stuff, everything is shiny and new, because it is shiny and new. It's not worn and torn. It's not battered by war and what have you. It's not like it's not lived. It's not had that experience. Whereas everything is, like you say, it's shiny and new and it's untouched, and it does make sense in a Lucas kind of way. Yeah. So it's fine. I'd take one, definitely. I think red over silver, because that I think that crimson armor just looks mint. As long as they do it by modern standards, so like you've got the overlay and all that sort of stuff. If it's more in keeping with the Sith troopers from Rise of Skywalker, which great figure, don't get me wrong, but by today's standards is slightly janky and clicky.
They are a fantastic figure. I only tell myself that because I bought 24 of the damn thing.
I was just about to say, like the leading advocate for sequel Sith troopers.
Well, these guys are going to be sick, you know.
How'd that work out for you, Jesse?
Oh, look, I probably could have had a shag in the same time they were on screen, so.
Shag rug. You mean the shag rug?
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Nah. Solid pick, mate. Solid pick. You guys are gonna have to keep me in the loop because I've lost track again. Where are we at? Who are we on?
Jesse.
Yeah, back to me.
Cool.
The grand
finale. I'm gonna do. I don't know if it's the right order, but I'm gonna do because we're on to our final picks now. So I'm gonna do Jesse's pick and James's picks back to back, just because they coincide with one another. And once you see the first, you're probably going to guess the second, but we'll go through it anyway. So yeah, on to Jesse, your final pick. We have from the brand new Star Wars Outlaws. It is KVS and Nix.
Yeah, I've really fallen in love with this game. Like I've almost put 80 hours into it. Somehow, I don't know. I don't play games that often, but for some reason, like I just got really stuck into this game and really liked the character. And Nix is just cute as hell. I don't know. I'd like to see this. I'd like to see KVS come out with her speeder bike, so like a deluxe vehicle set with her speeder bike. Like just go with the stock standard, because you can do things with the speeder. You can update it, and you can change visually different things on it. But I'd like to just stand it as she gets it early in the game, and yeah, just have Kay in her sort of standard outfit like she is in the picture there. But yeah, go all out and give her the speeder bike, little Nix, maybe a little bit of articulation so you can have him hanging off the back of the speeder. Yeah, and given what they've done with like Darth Maul's speeder recently, his speeder bike and the Stap, I think something like that could work really well in a nice window box, Star Wars Outlaws. I've just had a lot of fun with the game and would love to have her represented on the shelf. I think that's
I'm in agreement with you, Jesse. The only reason I didn't pick this one is because going off your Instagram stories, I knew that you would pick it. So there was a little bit of planning in my head there, but yeah, I think it's almost criminal that we didn't get something from Outlaws to coincide with the release of the game, considering they seem to do it with all the other new ones. But absolutely, little speeder bike, let's go. I'd have that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd definitely take like a standard release with just like a pre-posed Nix that can sort of stand next to her or something like that. But
was the boggling that came with Cal Kestis articulated?
No.
I thought was it just the head or the tail, or am I thinking wrong?
Or what about the I forget the name of it, but the creature that came with Omega from first season of
Ruby.
Bad Batch.
That had like a little ball joint in the middle of the torso, so kind of like rock like that.
And I'm pretty
the
sure
Vintage Collection Lothcats have got ball jointed heads, so if they can do them that small, then
they could definitely pack articulation into Nix then. Definitely. I mean, I'm right there with you. Like, I'd love a speeder bike version, but a mainline release would suffice. I haven't played the game yet. I've checked out the trailer, and anything that is sort of underworld and criminal and dark and dingy and seedy about Star Wars, I'm all for it. So give me pirates, give me outlaws, give me crooks and criminals and all that sort of stuff. Absolutely all over it.
It's got such a solo vibe to it. It's unreal. Like, it's such immersion into the Star Wars galaxy. That for me was like just the main takeaway of the game. You really do feel like you're you've got a bounty on your ass and you're running away, and you get to fly your ship and take it through hyperspace. That's fucking exciting.
Yeah, and it's smack bang like in the middle of the original trilogy. You know, you've got the Empire lurking around, and you know, since the game's come out, I've gone back and rewatched Book of Boba Fett, and probably had a little bit more appreciation for that with the Pike syndicates and and the two Hutts. Like, you know, there's still this sort of warring sort of family sort of thing going on, very sort of mafia sort of vibe. And then went back and rewatched Solo because again, it's sort of underworld, sort of dark and gritty. Like it's really cool.
I think somebody else agrees as well.
Yeah. Sorry. I think it's time for a walk.
Nah, solid pick. What about you?
Just out of curiosity, Jesse, what's your sort of syndicate alignment look like in the game?
I've sort of gotten to the point where I've got them all up with excellent. That sort of went up, sort of ebbed and flowed as I went through the story. I think the only one I haven't reached full points with is the Ashigas, which I'm working on now.
Yeah.
But just want to go get all the points so I can get the trophy. Well, I'm a trophy hunter, but I'll get there eventually. But I'm looking forward to. There's a DLC coming out next month, which I'm looking forward to, and then I think one early next year as well. So. Yeah,
there's a Hondo one, and that's the later one to be released. I'm so excited for that.
Someone said, you know, there's a lot of shit talk about the game online, and someone put it really well. They said 90% of the people that are playing it are really enjoying it. 90% of the people that are complaining about it haven't played it. So
yeah, that's usually how it goes. That's usually how it goes.
It just sounds like Star Wars to me.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much the same, same rules as the TV shows, isn't it? 90% of the people who didn't watch Acolyte slagged it off, and 90% of the people who watched it pretty much enjoyed it. So
yeah.
There we go. No, solid pick. I would buy one. Dan, I'm guessing have you played Outlaws or not?
I have.
Oh no, it's Hunters. It's Hunters you've played, isn't it?
Star Wars Hunters is what I play because I'm cheapskate. But no, this would be sick. I'd love to see. You know, the fact that the Knicks, the speeder bike, give me that. Mm-hmm. Anything Underworld and anything kind of like casual looking characters are always a nice inclusion. Because again, it's for me.
World building.
Yeah, it's like if I don't have a connection to the character, then I treat it like, oh well, it's just a little, you know, character going about the business. And that's all that really is in the game, isn't it? So it's. I don't know where I'm going with that point, but I'll buy it. I'm a shill. Put a cute creature in, I'm all over it. And Nyx is cute.
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone's got a spare one of those plush Nyxes that they were giving out when they were promoting the game, like send it to me. I want one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nah, I'd get one in a heartbeat. Absolutely. Like I said, I'm gonna counter Jesse's pick with James next, even though that might not necessarily be the order. Maybe it is. I don't know because I've lost the plot. But just because it's been a running theme throughout the stream, you know, counterpart figures, accompaniments, all that sort of stuff, it only makes sense. James, you've gone for this guy from Outlaws.
ND5, repurposed Commando droid from the Clone Wars, and it is fucking badass.
Yeah.
They do something really cool with this character, and they almost make you feel the same way about the clones in the Clone Wars when that first started. They take something that's got such a blank slate and almost a programmed purpose and give it such individuality that you start sympathizing with this character more than you probably would have thought you might have. It just starts out as a droid who very much follows his programming, and Kay sort of sees that it's, you know, it's not necessarily a great lifestyle that he's leading, and he could be doing better things. And it's too much to explain to go into it. But you end up talking him around, and he goes against it in the end, and he becomes a loyal friend and companion to you, part of your crew. I mean, there's just something stupidly cool about a Commando droid wearing a trench coat.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just about to get onto that.
It's like, if we do not see this in the line, something is going wrong at Hasbro, because they've got 95% of this already.
Yeah. How would you want to see it done? Would you want the trench coat to be soft goods, or would you want like a sculpted coat and then sculpted sleeves?
I'd rather it be sculpted. I think his sleeves only go down to his elbows anyway, so I think they could get away with it, similar to how they did the Clone Wars Cad Bane figure.
Yeah.
But it's so awesome. He's got a little bit of damage on his chest. You could have a removable restraining bolt. That's kind of a key feature to the character throughout the game. I know have we seen restraining bolts on droids before in the line?
Not.
If not, then it can be a first.
Yeah.
Not in Black Series. They've done a couple on 3 3/4 inch R2 figures, I think, but not in 6-inch. Unless no, they didn't do one on 3PO either, did they?
No, they haven't.
So there's something new that they could have a go at with that one. But he's just really cool, and for people that have played the game, you know, they know his entrance is so awesome. He saves you during this mission. It's like, oh, that's the badass guy off the poster.
Yeah. It almost had that similar vibe of K2SO in Rogue One, where he bashes Jin and is like, that same sort of moment, that same sort of vibe.
Congratulations, you are being rescued.
Please do not resist. Brilliant. All-time entrance, that one. All-time entrance. Nah, I'd buy it. Just to the uneducated of us, what's in the case?
If memory serves, it's only really on the poster. I don't know, Jesse, do you remember?
Yeah. Pretty much. I assume it's just like weapons or something, because the character that he comes in with, is a little bit of a shady character.
Right.
So
what weapons does he?
Maybe like a weapon smuggler or something like that.
What weapons does he use in the game? Is it just a single blaster, or a rifle, or?
Yeah, it's just a sidearm blaster. I don't know the name of the weapon, but it's the same one that Luke pulls from one of Jabba's goons in Jabba's palace.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Nice, I like that.
You know the one.
Yeah. I like that design. That's cool. Yeah, I was just
wondering.
What I
mean. They've got everything to make the bloody thing, so chop.
Yeah.
And I was just about to say if the case held anything of any significance in the game, like, or if it was just like a weapons cache, like if they could include that and then just put an arsenal with him, that'd have been quite cool. But I think as a figure on his own, like just a modified Commando droid, like you said, with that sculpted trench coat as well, I think it looks solid. I'd be all over that.
Yeah. All they'd have to do is literally make a new chest piece with he's got like a chunk taken out of his chest where you can see the inner workings. So that's all they need to do.
I wouldn't even begrudge them for just like painting that on if it's like
it's
got the look.
That's what I was thinking. Like the battle damage would just be painted, and then the coat would be the new sculpt. Like the coat and the upper arms would just be the new sculpted pieces. All new figure would be absolutely ideal, but send Gaming Greats back to its roots, kit bash, repaint, boom. I'd be happy with that. I think it'd look good. Nice. Daniel's left us. He's got bored of all this Outlaws chat.
Oh, sorry.
He's been so excited by our tales, he's gone and bought the game.
He's been outlawed. But solid pick again. I mean, like you said, accompaniments, counterpart figures, like get these two out in conjunction with one another. Cohesive synergy. Love it. Let's have it. Looks cool. Yeah, nice one. I think that is your final pick, is it not?
Yep.
Yep. Sorted. So that brings us on to, if I'm not mistaken, Dan, your final pick.
Oh, my final pick. Oh. So. Oh, drum roll.
Yeah.
So this is the Jedi bounty hunter that we encounter in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I always get them mixed up. I'm terrible. But I don't personally have much of a clue about this character, other than from the gameplay footage that I've seen. And he's just a badass. He's just a big chunky boy, and he's everything that I'd want in a figgy. And I love the whole design aesthetic of him. I've read a little bit into the story of the character as well. And he's just a big boy, isn't he?
I think you've also got ulterior motives in this pick, have you not, Mr. East?
Well, originally I did, but then when I think about it, it's like, how could they do it? But effectively, he's a Jedi, of which is synonymous to another character that we all know and love, called Dirge. And I feel like he's definitely not as aggressive as Dirge. Certainly intimidating and as strong as, but visually he's not got the same parts that they could maybe use, which I thought they could.
Yeah.
But
I think it's more one of those. If they can make him, then they can make Dirge.
And that's it. Yeah. So if you can make him, then go on, make Dirge.
Get cheeky with it. Come on.
And I think as well, it's just more aliens. Obviously, this would need to go down the deluxe route, and if you did, Hasbro, if you could be so kind, I think this should include Turgle with him.
Oh yeah.
Turgle is a little froggy dude. If you don't know who he is, search Turgle. He will bring so much joy to your life. He's voiced by the same guy that voices Invader Zim as well, but no.
Did not know that.
Oh yeah. I'm throwing it back. And that's why I think he looks so badass. He's so, give him a long tentacle arm as well. Come on.
They'd have to do a deluxe for him, absolutely.
Yeah, it's the weapons, it's the sort of whole aesthetic of him that's just so intimidating. There's a kind of nobility about him, unlike Dirge, where Dirge will literally just punch you in the face for no reason. He'll be like, right, you think you're fucking hard, come and have it.
Yeah. You want some? If you want some, I'll give it you.
That's basically it. Yeah, he's more like, I want a warrior's death kind of thing. I'll go out fighting, I'll take you to the ring, I'll knock you out kind of thing. I think he's just cool. He's got that cool factor.
Death before dishonor.
Yeah. Love him.
That's the vibe.
He's almost a missing link to some of the figures we've now got as well, isn't he? Because we've got the droids and we've got Dagangara.
Yeah.
Oh, did he share some form of connection to those characters as well?
Yeah. So basically, correct me if I'm wrong, James. He serves under Dagangara. So Dagangara's been in cryostasis, is that correct?
Yeah.
And he gets reawakened, and because this guy's a Jedi, he can survive for years. He's basically been out and about even during the Clone Wars and rounded up a bunch of... He's part of the Bedlam Raiders, isn't he? And he's the one that rounds up all these battle droids that have been left from the Clone Wars, and that's why he did accompany that battle droid 3-pack really well, I think. So yeah, he helps Dagangara because Dagangara was the only one who managed to best him in combat. He just wants to die as well. Bless him.
Every day is a Monday for him.
That's it. He's like, back at the office again. Come on now.
Someone's got a case of the Mondays.
Yeah, it's like let's have it. Let's have it over.
Just another Jedi Monday. I'll see myself out. No, I mean, again, I'm all for big, beefy boys. Yeah, I'll take it. I'm absolutely. When you picked it, when you sent this over and you said, "Oh yeah, my picks are the Sith Trooper and Ravis," I was like, "Who the hell is?" I had literally never heard of it. So this has been fun and educational for me. And when I saw the picture, I was just like, "What the hell is that? That is amazing." So yeah, I'd take that just because it's a weird, beefy alien. Like, yeah. And that club as well. Is it a club that he's got in his hand?
It's like a big...
amazing.
Clubby thing, a big blaster. He's just you just won't want to meet. You won't want to fight him. Put it that way.
Nah, definitely not. Definitely not. Nah, I'm down. What about you, James? One for you?
Oh yeah, you don't need us, do you?
Nah. I was going to say if you're all in on the Skeleton Crew kids, then you're definitely going to be picking this one up.
There it is. I was waiting for that. You leave Neil in his little yellow shoes alone, Steve.
Hey, I've got to do it. I'm sorry, I can't help it. But Jesse, one for you.
Yeah, slap it in the cart.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sell. Brilliant. Okay, that brings us to my final pick, and it only seems fitting, really, to throw it out on this one because Zane Zombie in the chat would love to see a Dark Lord Starkiller in the Black Series. Well, Zane, you're not the only one, my friend, because my final pick of the stream is Lord Starkiller himself, and I'm pretty sure I stand with every, not just every Star Wars video game fan, but every Star Wars fan and when I say that this needs to happen, this would be such an incredible figure. The image I've used here is from, it was quite difficult to track down a high-res image of Starkiller from the game in his Sith Stalker armor, but this is an image of the recently revealed Hot Toys Lord Starkiller that we're getting. And I don't dabble in Hot Toys too much. I've got a couple, but not many. This is one that I am absolutely 100% definitely getting as a Hot Toys figure. But in Black Series, like I made a case for it when I reviewed the Black Series Starkiller figure in the first place, and I said, with the belt that Starkiller's wearing in that iteration, like you've got all the plugs on the back of his belt for all the lightsaber hilts and stuff. Like just throw that on this figure, newly sculpt a few bits and pieces, and boom! Like what an awesome figure this would make. You talk about toyifying stuff. Like this would be. Imagine the shelf presence that this thing is going to have on your display. Like it's just terrifying. Like the Edward Scissorhands thing he's got going on, the mask, the sabers, the leather. Oh, the leather! Like just plug it directly into my veins. It's such a cool design, and I think in a lot of ways as well. Like it's in the same vein as the Sith Troopers that you picked, Dan. In the sense that it's so far removed from Star Wars.
Yeah, 100%.
Like maybe not so much now because it does look a little bit. You see some of these design elements translate into some of the Inquisitors that we've seen over the years. But just when this was first a thing, like you remember seeing this and thinking, Jesus, that is for Star Wars. That is terrifying. Like that is so unusual. But yeah, just as and the fact that we've had a version of this in 3 3/4 inch, not this same version, I don't believe,
it was
but a similar.
I think that was based more on concept art, from my understanding.
Yeah. But we have had the Sith Stalker armor, so to upscale that, bring it alive in Black Series. Oh, there we go. Jesse's on it. Look, where is it? Hang on. Let's make you big. Boom. Yeah, that's the one. I mean, that's cool in itself. Like, I would love to see that in Black Series as well. I'd love to see it re-released in Vintage, to be fair, because I never got it. I missed out on that one. But yeah, just like I think, like I said, when you've got a big canvas to play with the Black Series, the detail that they could pack into this one would just be unreal. And again, like my pick with Kyle Katarn, I think now more than ever is just the perfect time to get him into the line because they seem to be putting a lot more care and attention and detail into gaming greats. And I think if you're going to do a gaming greats figure, I'll wait a little bit longer for a Kyle Katarn figure if it means this guy's going to get released ahead of it. Like that's a gaming greats figure that needs to happen. And I don't think I'm alone when I say that.
No, 100%.
So what about you guys? One for the basket?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, without a doubt.
Would you want to see it deal up?
Even if they sort of did this one as deluxe with a little bit more, given he's got a little bit more going on with the armor and stuff like that, and then maybe just have you know, a version of this guy with the
a few extra lightsabers, perhaps.
Yeah, pack it out and have some fun with it.
Do you know what I would also say? If they could give him the operating table as well.
Ooh.
So from the end, give him the operating table. Then also, it gives you an excuse to make the medical droid to go with it. I think there's a medical droid in that scene. Yeah.
And a new Darth Vader for Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Back him on the Sith table.
Yeah, there's that as well. Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. He's just, I mean, going back to that scene that you've just mentioned there, Dan, like, that is, I love the way that Starkiller echoes Vader in The Force Unleashed. Like, the way that, like, the whole scene when he's being rebuilt, like, the fact that he sustained so much damage in a similar vein to Vader, and, like, Palpatine's just, like, fucked off twice. He's just like, oh, god damn it, why can't I just get a guy that's got all his bits? And then like, and the fact that again you've got that echoed scene where the table raises up and Palpatine's all like, yeah, well, this is what you are now. You're now a monster. You're embracing all that evil. Like, it's just like the story of Starkiller is just unmatched for me in gaming. It's just absolutely fantastic. I just think this would be, again, going back to accompaniments and counterpart figures, like, this would look so cool as like before and after Starkiller on your Black Series shelf. And I think, I don't know whether it was you, Jesse, or Brian Metal Jedi, when you did your Black Series wish list recently, I think one of you picked the Battle Damaged Vader.
Brian
picked Black Series line as well.
Yeah,
get that one out as well. I mean, you know, it's a shoe in. It's a shoe in.
Did you guys see the Hot Toys version of that the other month with that full Battle Damage Vader? Shrink that motherfucker right down.
Yeah, I'm really tempted, you know, because I'm toying with the idea at the minute of getting the Starkiller and the Revan from Hot Toys, but I think just again due to space, I think it's just I'm going to make the case for Starkiller a little bit more, but I think to get Starkiller and that Battle Damage Vader next to one another would just be absolutely unreal. Would make a hell of a display, and if they could replicate that in Black Series, I'm absolutely all for it. So yeah, more Force Unleashed figures, please, Hasbro, if you're listening, and give us Ram Kota. I want drunk blind Ram Kota in my collection.
What do you want, boy?
I need it. I need it. It's so good. So good. Love that game.
If only Master Windu were here, he'd know what to do. That solely repeats in the Wii version of the game. I've replayed it recently.
Yeah.
Wow, really annoying, but great. Great game.
Brilliant. But that brings us to our conclusion. That is our Gaming Greats wish list part 2. Like I said, if the first stream we did is anything to go by, I think at least a couple of these figures are going to get made down the line. I hope they do. And yeah, it's just I'm loving the fact that they're just putting all this effort into the Gaming Greats. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I love that it's moved on from if we want to release gaming figures, we can just repack and retool and repaint figures. Now we're getting a whole new level of appreciation for the characters in that subline, and long may it continue.
I think just in general, they're doing a cracking job all over.
To be fair, they are, aren't they? Like, Black Series at the minute.
Up goodness right now, it's just
absolutely 100%.
Join us in another 2 years for part 3.
Hey, do you know what? I never rule it out, mate. I never rule it out. Like I said, if the powers that be are listening, and a couple of those picks end up translating onto our shelves, then we'll be back in a couple of years and we'll do this all over again. But in the meantime, thank you, the three of you, for joining me on this dreary Saturday morning here in Blighty, and to you, Jesse, thank you for joining us from a land down under and taking some time out of your evening to talk toys with us.
Absolutely.
before we wrap up, I meant to do it at the start, but I just want to extend a big thank you to Jesse and the team over at Kessel Run Hair and Collectibles for a very, very kind care package that you guys sent out recently. And since we've got the platform and the floor is yours, Jesse, these little display stands that you provided are absolutely fantastic. Talk us through them. Talk us through the process. What's going on with these? Like, are they available to everyone? Like, where can you get some of these? What's the deal?
Yeah, so basically, this is something we worked on at Kessel Run Hair and Collectibles. So for those who don't know, we are a hair salon that is operated by Star Wars nerds and collectors. And we do sort of sell toys in the shop as well. We've got a website, kesselrunhair.com. We sort of 3D print our action figure stands and dioramas and bits and pieces. And we sort of just got to a point where we're like, we saw a need. And we sort of spent about 12 months designing this thing and tweaking it. And this is basically what we've come up with is a nice solid disc. It's got 3 different peg sizes on it. So you've got one there on the left, which is sort of more Black Series. One on the right, sort of more focused on vintage collection. And then the little one in the middle is sort of just for, those sort of daintier, sort of smaller vintage collection figures. And then this little archway in the top can actually be sort of twisted, pulled out, and then pegged into the 2 holes down the bottom. So, for those bigger footed figures, you can slide the foot underneath them.
I wondered what that was for. I thought it was just a design choice. I was like, I don't want to push it out, but
let me see if I can.
Demonstrate, because I have no idea.
Full focus on it. There we go. So yeah, basically just with a pair of scissors or something, twist that out. It can be a little bit tricky. It's a little bit tight, but once you get that out, I found I've actually had to sort of glue them in just to give them that extra little.
That's okay. I like that.
So then you've got a little support arch, so you can, once that's glued in, it'll be nice and tight. You get the foot sort of wedged underneath there, just to provide a little bit extra support. So.
I'm going to be doing that later. That's awesome.
Yeah, so there's quite a bunch of figures, both here in my collection and in the shop, that now utilize these stands, and we're actually really proud of what we've come up with and how they're going and what people are saying about them. So at the moment we do ship internationally if you're interested. At the moment you buy 2 packs of 20 and you get an extra 10 stands free. So 50 stands for like 30 Australian bucks.
Decent.
And if there's any requests for any other colors, we can try and work something out too. But at the moment, just the standard is white. So, we'd love to evolve and do some different colors. But time will tell.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to opening mine up because I've got some. I don't know where Steve's gone.
Oh dear.
That's Steve! All right. He'll be back.
Where you go, Steve? Come back. Where you go?
Wow.
Steve. Yeah, go on, Jesse.
Yeah, we've got a few other bits and pieces. I haven't got any to hand at the moment. Or what do I know? We've sort of designed a few other little bits and pieces, like these little diorama pieces. So it's like a little canister.
That's cool.
We've got a friend who goes by Sketch and Design. He designs all this stuff for us. He does all the 3D modeling, and we do the printing. So, lots of we got little boxes and some crates you can actually store weapons in. So they got a little pop-open lid. But yeah, kesselrunhair.com is the place to go and check it all out.
Amazing. I'll post-production. I'll stick some links down below in the video description where you guys can check all that out. I'm hoping that you guys can still hear me.
Yes.
Just about,
thank God. Yeah, sorry about that. I didn't realise that the new camera that I was streaming from Also, it doesn't just require plugging into my computer, it also requires plugging into a main supply, so the battery dies. So at least I know for next time. But no, great timing, because that just about wraps us up. Thanks for sharing that with the display stands, Jesse. It was.
Thanks for letting me give a little plug.
Yeah, no worries at all. Thanks for sending those across. Like I said, I've got a few in the collection now, and I'll be. Because the one running joke, and we give it grief on these streams on a regular basis, but with Vintage Collection, my main issue with the figures as they stand, no pun intended, is the shallow peg holes, and these stands pretty much solve that issue. So
the beauty of them being 3D printed too is with a little bit of sandpaper or scissors, you can almost something or a knife, you can almost just sort of shave a couple of layers off. That's and get them to the required depth. So that's just the nature of 3D printing. It's awesome stuff.
Perfect, mate. Perfect. Color wise, request black.
Awesome. We'll keep that in mind.
Nice one. Well, I'll let you guys get back on with your evening and mornings. Thank you once again for joining me and indulging me and sharing your Gaming Greats picks. Thank you for everybody in the chat who's joined. We'll be back with another live stream at some point, I imagine. I think James broached the idea recently of doing a saga Black Series wish list and making our way through the Skywalker saga and starting with the prequels or the original trilogy, the sequel trilogy, and doing a stream very, very similar to this one in format, but working our way through the overall saga. That might be something that we look at doing in between the reveal streams that we usually do. But with that in mind, once again, just before we wrap up, going back to reveals, just to bear in mind, everyone, next week, between Friday and Sunday, there will be new reveals at MCM Comic Con in London. As always, stay tuned to my socials for Black Series news and reveals. Really looking forward to seeing what's going to be on offer there. And it has been a blast, gentlemen. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you all on the next one. Until next time, as always, keep collecting, and may the Force be with you.